Lagi gue Reza, and now gue bakal watch party T1, tim kesayangan gue nih. Sekarang mereka lagi ada di final, lower bracket final ngelawan HLS. Yang mana ini salah satu plan yang penting buat mereka, karena kalau mereka menang, mereka bisa masuk ke MSI guys. Oke, kita langsung aja nih. Anjir, masih 20 menit cok. Gue kira udah bener-bener mulai aja. Oke, apa? Kita sambil dengerin apa yang kita omongin. Ini masih 20 menit lagi aja. Jadi padahal 0321 start gitu. Gue kira startmu bener-bener mulai gitu.
Really big moment, you know.
Yeah,
okay.
I am always mega excited for the road shows, and I think this is on paper.
Ini bakal seru banget ya. Kalau kalian tahu T1 itu, mereka adalah tim yang main terkenal banget. Kalau di luar negeri ya, kalau di Indonesia gue gak tahu ya apakah mereka terkenal banget atau enggak. Kayaknya gak tahu sih. Dimana tim itu ada FAKER guys, idola gue guys. Oh ini, kesannya ulang tahun cuy.
How does it feel to be old? 30 years old today.
Okay. Gue sambil buka
I don't feel any
ya.
different. I still spent my life talking about a video game, so
BTW ini yang pengen tuh mantan player T1 guys.
I don't think we're really feeling substantially different.
Gue lupa namanya siapa kalau di itu, kayaknya T1 Huni deh.
We got the help me out here, Huni. Can we make it happen?
Kecewa ulang tahun dulu.
Yeah,
Kita masih 20 menit lagi ya, gak apa-apa lah. Ini kalian bakal lihat epic moment, karena kalau di final tuh biasanya ada apa sih, banyak pertunjukan gitu sih, makanya agak beda lah dengan series biasanya.
Happy birthday to Chronicler. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Selamat ulang tahun Chronicler.
So now any birthday wish for your 30th birthday Chronicler?
This does still go down. A good series today and tomorrow. Give me 10 games. 10
Anjir, 10 games. Lah,
this song by the way.
bukannya best of 5 ya? Oh, best of 5 harusnya maksimal paling 5 game kan?
Alright, so happy birthday to Chronicler.
It says happy birthday, Chronic Keckler.
Oh, Chronic Keckler.
That's amazing.
There we go. Throw some keks in there.
Tapi gue berharap memang, tapi gue di sini gue berarti 3-0 di T1.
That's amazing.
Karena kemarin T1 dibantai 3-0 sama Kuman Malef cuy. Gue pengen something revenge dari T1.
And happy birthday, Chronic Keckler.
I love the kazoo, man. It's perfect. So happy birthday to Chronicler. We do have a series to talk about here. So on that note, let's jump into the playoff bracket and talk about what has happened so far.
Idola gue di LCK itu ada 3, ada KT, ada DK, ada T1. Sayangnya main KT lawan DK, mereka langsung bertemu. Jadi otomatis matinya ini salah satu. Terus ada DK ke atas lawan Janji, DK kalah. Man, kalian lihat di bawah tuh T1 HL 3-0, itu yang kemarin. Gue harap sekarang T1 bisa balas dendam, men. Gue harap T1 bisa 3-0 juga. Kalau T1 lawan Janji gue gak apa-apa sih, 3-2 bakal terus. Pokoknya gue berharap 3-0 sih buat T1.
So I'm so excited. It is a rematch of the playoff match that we did have earlier in round 2 actually between T1 and Homolife Esports.
Ini penting banget buat T1 men, karena kalau T1 menang ini bisa MSI. Kalau T1 nggak masuk MSI, kering banget dari gue itu.
Just to try to show off what happened because T1 weren't really the team that we were expecting them to be in this first matchup.
We still saw a lot of
of how they started fights, very aggressive when they thought they had an angle, but the angles weren't really there, and particularly against a team like Hala that is so insanely consistent when it comes to playing the map into lane and playing front-to-back team fights with what is right now the best performing bot lane in the league, makes it really hard, and I think led to a very one-sided series.
Bukan yang playoff, ini series kayaknya.
Which is like, I think especially the round 2, the T1
Oh, ini yang playoff,
from there, I think the T1 take it away. Was like they still had a really increased the fight selection, but at the same time when they actually kind of locking off, HLE shows like really consistent like the fight, especially after 20 minutes plus the macro play and the team fight as well. But the T1 was actually doing really great job like from the regular season, but it's just slowly kind of going downhill of their consistency of the fight selection. And I mean that's why the game was like the whole series was like really
Ini gue cerita YouTube dan kalau masih ngelag lagi. Ini gue nonton di Twitch BTW ya. Karena di Twitch itu biasanya lebih offline. Cuman kadang-kadang nggak ngelag aja.
DK series as well, but to me, not unlike some other series that T1 has played in the past, it really just felt like gameplay. I think Homa Life on the day just looked way better, basically across the map. Bot lane obviously for Homa Life has been performing exceptional.
Tapi gue berharap
And then
dia
towards the
sih
top
pakai
side of
TF
the map,
sih.
T1 wasn't able to generate the leads that
Karena
they
gue yakin
normally
HL
did,
udah
and that I think was a
pasti
really
bisa
big
counter
reason as to
jauh.
why these aggressive plays didn't really end up working out.
I mean, because
Sama
it's like
kayak
also you kind
TF
of
lagi.
mentioned it of the draft, right?
Kadang
Like, I
main
think
pakai
the
TF mulu
first
jauh.
game and the game 1 and game 2, those first 2 games is starting with the TF rookie, and that's how
Di
they.
sini
that's-
gue gak
that's
tahu
like
kenapa
actually
Keria
kinda desync to how they
agak
wanna
kurang
play,
main.
especially
Padahal dia mestinya
from the
bagus loh.
bottom. Like, they
Ini
wanna
kan main
generate
Sion
all
ya. Pasti dia kata mungkin.
lead goal, like, and also the controlling all the
Oh,
games,
gak enak banget
especially
ini
for
kadang-kadang
T1, and that
Ntar
didn't
sekali lagi
really
gue pindah
help
YouTube
at
deh
all.
kalau masih
Like,
kayak gini.
especially for Quirky, like, sure, like it's really strong when actually have a package time, but T1 is not the actual team that they want only fight when they have a package.
There's also Delight, and we have to talk about him because he individually, I think, was the standout in this particular series because his
Gue
engagement
kira
was just
tadi
absolutely
ada countdown
exceptional.
juga
The fact that he
10
got
guys.
his Nautilus
Udah
repeatedly
1 menit terus 3, 2,
was a
1.
very common talking point
Kita masih ada
afterwards
game lagi.
because
Masih
I
ada
don't even think like
countdown
Nautilus
lagi.
in isolation is like a type of support that you can't deal with in any way, shape, or form.
Nah,
But
ini
if your
juga
fights
bagus
aren't
pakai
looking clean
Talianya.
and Nautilus just gets the hook after hook,
Dan
utilize
gue berharap
OCC,
Faker di sini nggak pakai Talia
it
ya.
makes it really hard, and I
Emang
really think
di
that
beberapa
the
game terakhir
drops
Talia
today
Faker
look
udah
very
mulai bagus
different
kan.
from what they did to try and maybe play more towards the strength for Hama.
Kadang-kadang
Though,
masih agak kurang.
I still think
Talia
that
Faker tuh juga.
even in the Gen G
Gue berharap dia
series,
pakai
they didn't
Morgana.
really get
Yang mana
tested
kayaknya
in
di ban
terms of
Morgana
drops,
tapi
and that might be the case here
Corki
today.
juga boleh.
Yeah, I think this is
Nico
going to look
juga
totally
bagus.
different, right?
Oh iya, gue harus pindah YouTube man.
And I think you're going to see that in some of the predictions, right? Some people will watch this and say,
Ini YouTube aja
okay,
deh ya. Nah ini dia.
Yang mana?
Gak enak main di Twitch, kadang-kadang kayak slow-slow gitu.
prepared for it, and Hama Life Esports came in very
Kan masih
ready.
di sini
So hoping that
Di
this one
YouTube
is a
agak
bit more
delay.
competitive because we did see that this first
Pakai hari
series
juga boleh,
was
Faker
kind of a
lumayan.
wash. I mean, 3 games, a
Yang
lot of
penting
the
jangan
team
tali
fights
aja.
were very one-sided. It wasn't
Si
really like a
ultinya
back and
kurang-
forth like we saw from Gen G and Hama
Ya,
Life
kurang aja
Esports
Faker.
on the other side of the bracket.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a lot of time, like it was like question mark when the actually T1 was
Yeah,
starting
wait.
to fight. So
By the way,
Go back to
guys,
the
you know, this organization pre-franchise for the side of Home Life Esports, we did have, of course, the Rocksiders, Screw Tigers as well. These two teams played off against each other in this very same arena. Now it has been rebranded. Back then it was the Olympic Gymnastics Arena. Now it is the KSPO Dome. And that was in 2016.
T1
So
win
these
6
orgs
kali
go
ngelawan
way back.
One Life dan
It's
cuma
also
kalah sekali
remarkable
3-0 dan
that
kalahnya
the
anjir.
3-0 that Homa Life
Tapi
got
itu
was the
agak
first
masuk
time
akal
they
sebenarnya
actually
kalahnya
did
karena
win. We saw a
T1
lot
tuh
of
kemarin kena
close
DDoS
calls,
attack dan mereka gak bisa
obviously
ikutan
qualifier,
scrim, mereka
which
gak
is
bisa
where
streaming,
Chovy,
mereka
did
gak
end up
bisa
making it to Worlds. After
QU
all,
bukan
when he was on the
kayaknya
Homa
gak bisa
roster,
gitu latihan QU
World
gitu.
Semis, which is a very
QU
memorable matchup
ranked
for
biasa
many
gitu kan.
reasons.
Anak main
We'll
ulta
see
karena
today.
DDoS
I
attack
hope, as long as it's
T1.
not a 3-0, I think most people will feel a lot happier because we
Gila,
were
win 6
expecting a
kali
lot
langsung
when we came
kalah
into
dong
that, and it didn't
3-0
really deliver.
yeah, I mean, especially
Mungkin
after
gue yakin
refranchise,
gagal
like,
DDoS
they
attack ya,
actually
mereka
get the final
T1 kurang
first week,
pemanasan,
and
kurang
even
latihan.
today, I think has a still really have a huge favor for HLE since they beat the 3-0. That experience you can't really ignore it.
Yeah,
Masih
absolutely.
15
And whoever
menit, cuy.
does win tonight, of
Ini
course, is
bakal
going to have the
jadi
experience of playing
penantian
a
yang
full best
panjang
of
ya.
5 against one of these teams, and then maybe
Gue agak
they'll have a
kecepatan mulai
chance
live
up
streamnya
against
gitu.
Gen G. We'll have to wait and see how that does go for
Tapi
this
apa, kita
finals
lihat
weekend
samping-samping
a bit
dulu
later
nih.
on. But let's talk about Peanut versus Faker here because
Mereka dulu
these two
satu tim loh,
guys
Peanut sama
also
Faker.
go way back. They were obviously on those rosters in
kan?
2016.
2016
and
mereka
Peanut
bareng.
actually has done pretty well against Faker
Faker
over the
main-
years, especially on the
main
recent
idol
Gen G
yang
rosters.
kiri
That's
Peanut.
the big thing. A lot of heavy lifting
Jungler.
being done by both Gen G as an
Menang mereka
organization,
seimbang loh,
but Peanut
5-5 loh.
himself has always been talked about as
T1
how
5.
important he was
Bukan
to
T1
the
ya, kalau
functioning
Faker
of
sih
the
selalu
roster,
T1
the
dari awal ya.
organization themselves really
Kalau
throughout
Peanut
that
sih dia
period of dominance that
nggak
they
tahu dia
had,
nggak tahu siapa pas
2022,
nah, ke Gen G
2023,
dan sekarang
always
ke
talked about this guy is
One
the
Walleye.
captain, he's the shot caller, he's the
Gue
one
yang
who
paling
gets
gak suka
things
apa
done.
anjay.
And seeing Peanut continue
Ini
that
tuh
level of
tim
form
lama deh.
on a Hanwha that sure is made of exceptional players, but still being able to have the same impact when it comes
Faker
to
selalu ada
his
di T1
jungle picks.
Cok.
Taking
Mulai
like
dari
2 free
2013 dia
bans
debut.
basically every single
Dia
game.
debut tuh
really
harusnya
says
di
a lot
T1
about the
ingat gue
form
ya.
that he's in.
I mean,
2013,
regardless, I
sekarang
mean,
udah
I'm from both of them, so
10 tahun
it's
lebih,
really
man.
good to see, honestly. Like,
Faker
it's
the
kind of
God.
sad to that. Like, it's kind of sad that like they're actually facing each other, so one guy kind of have to lose. But I wish. I hope
Tapi ini sih emang sedih sih.
perform individually.
Rekan lama sekarang
If that makes
kayak
sense.
I mean, that's all you can hope for, and obviously the fact that they
bertanding
continue to
gitu.
face off
Sama
against each
kayak
other
Carrier
over and
kemarin
over
sama
means
dia.
that they are, two of the best players that we do have in this LCK. Let's talk about objective stats for these two teams in the head-to-head, because we have seen some trends.
PG gue gak tahu.
Big thing here is that we see
Herald
that
gue tahu,
Mobile
Herald
is
16.
playing much
Anjir
more
Herald,
heavily towards the
T1
Herald, which
kecil juga
gives
ya.
a lot of early map control and a lot of early
Cuman
gold, which
Dragon
I
gede
think helps
T1.
you scale really nicely when you get to
dapatannya.
the second and
Souls
third fight.
juga
Whereas T1 has
gede,
been prioritizing
16%
Dragons. The
dibanding
downside
0.
of that is that if you don't win your early
Baron
bot
juga
lane,
T1.
which unfortunately for
Cuman itu
Life, I think, or for a T1 in the
PG
series against
apa
Humble,
ya,
they
Nya?
weren't really able to consistently get. It does take away a lot of what has made this team strong in playoffs.
Yeah, which is like you kind of forced
Nggak
to
tahu
take the
PG
void
apaan
drop
sih.
because you got pushed out from the pro lane.
That's
Like,
that's not the best.
That's not the strength point, but still, like they do kind of take it. And
Oh,
I think
kayaknya
the most
kayak gitu
important
ini
thing,
Void
as you
Gram,
said,
Void
like,
Gram,
the
oh ya.
Dragon taken away,
Void
it
Gram.
has to be done by the T1.
Kan Void Gram ada
Otherwise,
6
it's
kan.
gotta go from just HLE.
Dia pernah ngambil 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kalau
I'm not a big fan
HLE
of
ya
the
kurang lebih
consolation
2.
prize that is the Void Grubs. Getting
kan.
first place in that doesn't really mean anything, so yeah, at least they are first in that stat. Let's talk about the points of the match as well coming into this one, because definitely a lot of stuff to talk about
kita
between
nonton ini dulu
these
ya.
two squads. Humble Life
Atau
Esports
their
to attend
final
their
since
first
the
final
franchise.
since re-franchising. As we did mention before, it is a rematch from when it was, I think,
To become the
Two
first connect
Tigers
yang
back
masuk ke
then
final
in
in row.
2016,
Anjir
8 years ago.
T1 kalau
and
sekarang
we're
menang
fighting here in
mereka
the
6
same
kali
location.
berturut-turut masuk final di LCK. Wah gila sih cowok. Gue yang ngerti T1 katanya baru 2022 ya, 2023 menit.
But they are equaled by Gen G.
Karena gue dulu main
Incredible
Maldives
regardless
tuh
of who
kemarin
makes
tahun
it here, but
kemarin,
I
terus
think
gue
many of us
mulai
are kind
lihat
of
apa sih
hoping
player
for Hotba
League of
just so
Legends
that we get
dan gue liat FAKER di
something
sana
that
dan
isn't
gue benar-benar
T1
ngidolain
Gen
sampai
G.
sekarang cuy.
It hasn't really anything to do with T1 specifically, but we've seen this matchup so many times, and it would be so cool to see
juga
a
mengerikan cuy yang
new
warna biru tuh
organization.
Coffee.
Yeah, sure, there's a couple of the same
Ya
players.
mungkin
that
dia
were on
katen kalah sih ya,
Gen
tapi
G,
ya
but even that, I think,
kalau
really ups
kalian lihat
the stakes if those two
match-match dia
teams
yang lain
face off
sampai
against
itu
each other
mengerikan
again.
cuy.
Yeah, I mean, it's for T1 for sure.
Bahkan FAKER
Like
pun
they're gonna
kewalahan.
be. It's their,
Coffee.
as you said, it's their hometown. Like it's
Ya emang FAKER emang
actually
lagi
even though it's
nggak
it's a
terlalu
loser
ini ya,
final,
kadang-kadang.
it's one of the staff that is
Kadang-kadang
going
bagus
to the
banget,
actual
kadang-kadang udah
final,
kurang.
and they're gonna
Oh, sekarang lumayan bagus
they
sih.
won against the DK3-0.
Kalau Coffee kayak selalu
Boost up
bagus
for
masalahnya
sure,
gitu.
even though like the progress wasn't like actually 100% accurate, but I
Doran.
think it's they're on the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
laner
We do
offense.
have these two top laners meeting head-to-head since 9 days ago in playoff round
Gua
2.
harap
Zeus
Rek'Sai di ban ya, karena
did play the Vayne
dia juga
top,
bagus kalau pakai tempo
and
yang
Doran currently in pretty solid form, which is
tanker
kind of
kayak gitu.
interesting. I
Kecuali
mean,
kalau santai ya.
that's not really the wordage we would use, but
Karena
I
Zeus
think
tuh
he has been
the
good
max man,
against
the max
Zeus.
dealer yang
That's the peak thing with Doran.
mantap
Doran is
banget
just
kalau dia
he has been
pakai yang
effectively the
tanker-tanker
same
gajah
player.
itu
And I
kurang.
feel like his highs have gotten higher just as much as his lows have just stayed the same.
Kayak
as he
Rek'Sai
hits
itu emang
Doran.
keras sih.
But into
Cuman dia buat
specifically
the Mac
T1, I think
nggak
that he
sebagus
really
itu.
finds a way to, and the big thing for me isn't even just
Jadi
lane,
kurang
where
pas
he did
kalau
have
Zeus
obviously the
pakai
greatest performance
Rek'Sai.
last year, but
Mungkin
it's
kalau yang
also
makainya
the
HL
fact
bagus
that
ya.
in some of his bad
One
games,
Life.
I don't feel like he gets to have the mid to late game impact. Against T1, even if his laning phase is rough, I swear this man just somehow always sees the angles
Ini meskipun
when we get
One
to
Life
the
menang, kalau
team
biasa dia
fights.
mereka tetap
And
kalah
I
deh.
think Tion
Sebelum
also
tim tadi menang.
finally they kind of figure out like what they want to do, especially with the Vayne top as well. But I mean, Vayne top probably I don't think we're gonna see one more time. Maybe, maybe we will, but
Oh ini yang kemarin
it's
si
against
Zeus
the-
pakai
it's
ini ya.
also Doran side is like
Zeus
he somehow
pakai
like
Vayne.
when he actually playing without
Bantai-bantai dia coy.
any pressure. Somehow, I mean, he actually managed to be a most important
Nah, licin
player in
banget
the
dia,
game
Cok.
in the series. I mean, that's
Showmaker
how he
kabur
got the
kejar
final
sampai ke dalam
key, like,
flash.
which is it's incredible. Like no one was expecting it at all.
Zeus to me is also the player that still is
Really good
the
one.
most impactful individually
Ini dia.
on T1.
Guma
Yeah, you did mention
Keria
that in
early
the
game
Pog
control ada
State,
tim
by the
carry.
way. Shout out to all you Pog State
Iya sih, Guma Keria
enjoyers.
bagus di
Let's
early
talk about
sih.
the bottom lane here as well, because
Guma
Viper
soalnya
Delight
kalau
have been
dia agak
insane in late game
fight
scenarios,
kadang-kadang
in
agak
team
susah sih
fight
di late
scenarios.
game-nya ya.
Guma
Biasanya
and Karya
carry-nya
have
si
definitely
Zeus
been known for
di
their
late game-nya.
strange picks. Obviously, Karya
Kalau
picking up
One
the
Life, Viper
carries,
itu emang udah
rumble,
bagus banget
stuff
kalau di
like
late
that
game.
in the
Meskipun
support
mereka
role,
dealernya
but
kurang.
also just controlling the lane in general, but has
Somehow
been interesting
skill
to
setnya
watch
bagus
them
banget si
develop
Viper.
over the last bunch of weeks.
We have seen this trend, I think, start, and it's come back and forth, right? We saw it last year in spring as well, but during Worlds,
sebenarnya
that
itu
was
pakai Zeus,
really something that
pakai-
Guma and Karya started
Zeus
with the
namanya.
double AD carry, but just at some point started counterpicking
Zeri,
every
Zeri.
single matchup. to just try and win bot lane. T1 I think has become really reliant on it for that to work out because Zay is very far forward, so bot lane doesn't throw pressure, it doesn't really work. And the downside to trying to play that style into Viper and the Light is that they have been so insanely consistent, so hard to punish these guys, and it feels like regardless of matchup, actually getting a sizable lead through bot is made so hard. Whereas versus a team like JJ, Lanes have actually struggled pretty considerably in lane. I feel like Viper and the Light just aren't going to give you those same type of
awareness. Si Delight jangan pakai champion
engage.
Udah itu
Still the
lumayan.
Viper did like kinda like it was a struggle. It showed a little bit of it.
Saya Delight
But I
kalau
think
pakai
that's just
champion
like
engage,
how
wah
meta is
dia
right now.
bisa
Like the solo
benar-benar
laners are really strong, the mid lane
membuka
strong,
warna.
the jungle champions, all
Buat timnya enak banget.
champions has a point CC. Like those kind of things, it makes it even
Ini berapa
harder.
lah?
But it's even more impressive that like Viper not making mistake and not
Masih 10
dying at
menit.
all. Like having 0 deaths is having these consistent performances.
He's been incredibly consistent. I think the bottom lane of Half-Life Esports is going to be one of these things we look at as a big plus side for them. It has been, as we mentioned many times, even over the course of the season, probably the best bottom lane duo. And we do have some stats here as well in the isolated deaths. As Guma hasn't had too much luck, but I suppose Curry's been out on the map and stuff, whereas Viper has not really died solo at all.
Yeah, and that's
Viper
something that
gak pernah
I think partially
sekalipun
is due
Edan.
to Guma. He hasn't had the best playoffs. I think he's been
Edan
fine.
apa?
He hasn't really been a standout. But it's also, as you point out, the way that he is used. He is generally just considered, you pick something like a
Guma padahal
virus
di
that
World
will have an
Cup
impact no
kalau
matter
sekarang
what. Carrier's gonna
Ya,
get
yang
easy
sih,
picks.
cuman
He's the one who's
kadang-kadang
gonna
agak
have the impact.
kurang
And
gitu
Guma
kalau
just
dia
kinda
agak
has to take
snowball
the
tuh.
hit so that they can play towards the skirmishes on the top side. But it
Biasanya
also
Zeus yang
highlights the
benar-benar carry tuh.
consistency of Viper. The fact that this man
Tapi semoga
is so
sekarang mereka udah
hard to
mulai
take
bangkit ya.
down,
Pada bagus
especially
main.
if he is on something like a Zeri, is something that Half-Life really relies on.
Yeah, I mean, like, echoing it again, like especially the Viper, if he's showing like a little bit of struggle, actually just a little bit of the inconsistency. Like if today it actually happening, I think it would be really favored for T1. But if he keep the 0 death, having perfect game, it's really red sign for the T1.
I think as long as he doesn't dash into a
Kayaknya terjanji ya.
there's a
Ini
lot
mah
of pressure
Peanut,
on
Cok.
these
Iya,
players,
Peanut.
and
Salah.
you know, they make mistakes. It happens. Let's
Peanut,
talk about the
anjay.
supports, as these have been two of our
Iya.
best supports in the entire league
Selama
for
Delight
quite a
gak
while.
pakai champion ini engage,
The side
kayak
between Delight, who
Nautilus,
really is the
terus,
archetypical
ya,
support,
siapa
just
tuh?
plays the classic support
Yang warna
champions.
ungu
He
tuh.
is a blitzcrank that he likes
Alistar,
to pull out, but
apa
particularly
viral,
on
jangan.
engage. Ever since the Breon days, this guy has been absolutely
Bukan
exceptional at starting
Rakan
fights
juga, wah.
and finding angles, whereas Carrier, which you can see by
Lihat champion
courtesy of
Carrier, Cok.
TPM being unreasonably high
Ada
for a support,
Camille,
loves
ada
to get
Rumble,
creative
nih.
with things like the
Ada
Camille
Sejuani
as well as the
juga.
Rumble.
Yeah, I mean, look how many wins like Delight actually has with the melee support, but the carrier got some the Rumble support win. And also, this guy actually rolls over in early game. It's so
Gue gak tau ya apakah carry atau karena main setelah carry sama Rumble ya.
But
Gue
I
nonton
think this is
streamingnya
not
si Dev.
actually, it's not OP.
Dia
Like if it's OP,
main
it's
sama
gotta
Public
be
gitu,
10 every
cute.
game. Or it's actually just winning every game, but it's actually die.
Yang
Who
support
needs saying
Rumble,
Rumble isn't OP?
Camille juga banyak.
Because
Emang carry sih, itu buat
yeah,
kalau mereka tahu ya.
obviously if I'm there,
Apa
I'm
emang
gonna
kayak
win
gitu
every
emang
game, but
karena
like
carry ya?
they're not Huni.
Tapi gue nggak tahu karena carry ya
obviously,
sih,
like,
karena
that's why the regular season
waktu gue
or like
dulu
even
nonton
playoffs, the
streaming
win rate
kayak
isn't
T1
like
gitu,
the greatest, I would
mereka
say,
main
but
solo
still
queue
the
gitu,
T1 fact that they sub Zeus that can actually just
jarang ada yang
have a
pakai
flex
support
pick
Rumble.
with and even carry
Camille
actually
kadang-kadang
prove
ada
that he
sih.
can actually play. It's a huge factors.
I feel like every support in playoffs so far has tried their hand at this, whether on the Rift here in playoffs or you know in solo queue, and it's gone up in pick percentage, in ban percentage.
lama, cuy.
This
Lama
is a
lagi ya.
real support pick nowadays, so we might be seeing more of this today. Wouldn't be too surprised. Let's talk about the mid laners as well, because Teer still back, still here. Unfortunately, fortunately
semoga
for
pakai
these
gak
mid
pakai kali
laners,
ya.
I guess, because everybody loves to play this.
Pakai Ariana sih paling
Our
cakep
meta
sebenarnya.
tyrant is back. Zaire
Kalau
has
Zeka,
made his way, and obviously we've saw
Zeka
Chovy
palingnya
with
bagus,
I think, one of
Ajitnya
the
juga
biggest
bagus.
1v9
Harinya
we've
juga,
seen
ya
since
oke sih, harinya.
Chovy on Yone. That is something that both mid laners today are going to gravitate towards as well. For Zeka, it's just because
Kalau
I think
pakai Corki
Zaire is
oke
a
lah,
really
Corki
strong pick,
akal.
and they want to
Tapi
deny
gak boleh ya,
Faker
suka-suka
for
mereka lah.
Faker. It's because
Kita
his role in the
berharap
team is
kalau
to try to be
lawan
that
Wallace keluarkan
facilitating
semua
a
kekuatan
team
mereka, tapi
lane
T1
or a
bisa
team
menang
fight
gitu.
mid, and Azir does that exceptionally. We saw this with the Corki as well. The lack of mid pressure, I think, is something that T1, if the side lanes and bot lane aren't playing well, they can't really deal with. So I don't think we'll see the Corki here today, unless it is high
Kayak
level
pada
scaling on
champion
Half-Life
champion
side.
unik
To be
gitu kan.
fair, they do like their
Kayak playoff
Azir,
kemarin atau series
Rek'Sai,
kemarin,
and Zeri
pick-picknya.
drop. So Let's see if that ends up
Berharap satu
happening.
yang
Yeah, I
baru.
mean, I don't think we're gonna see like the random blind pick
Kayak
here.
kemarin
Right? It's gonna be
Camille,
actually
terus
about the
dia
respawn
semakin
pick. So I
pengen
think
di
also
top
from
meskipun
Zach that
itu
the losers actually
Simpentai
took
banget
against
kalau
the
misalnya
Gen G,
dipakai
so
di
it's
top.
kind of really understandable.
Kalau ngelawan
His
Pain.
individual performances of the playmaking was really incredible.
It definitely was, and I think the mid lane, as we talked about the support, I think both of these lanes are going to be huge in terms of impacting how this series is going to look and who's really going to take this one home. Speaking of which, let's talk about our predictions. Always a fun topic that everybody loves to discuss. All of us have gone for 3-2s, except Chronicler has gone for the 3-2 in favor of T1. Anything to say for yourself? As the odd man.
Yeah, I don't believe that
Andai itu
we
mantan
get to
T1,
have
Cok.
something else.
I mean, yeah, it's a DK T1 series. The T1's execution wasn't clean. Like, it was a 3-0, but still, like I did say, it's a still boost up. It's a still really good stuff of what T1 did, but guess what? The opponents today is not DK, it's HLE, brother.
Yeah, I remember the last time we were
T1
like, oh,
bakal menang,
T1,
Cok.
they're not playing that well. Last summer, you know, they're not going to get it. They've made 7 out of 8 grand finals, including internationals.
Let's go
That's not just
Chronicler, ini
domestic.
dia Cok.
And yeah, you can
Ini
talk
dia
about how they
caster
didn't win
favorit
a lot
gua
of them.
Cok.
They didn't
Emang
win
tetep
Worlds.
kita
I think
ngerayain
the team
mantan
just levels
Chronicler.
up. I think it's T1 Genji again. I kind of
T1 Genji, let's go.
very fundamental level hope
T1
that I'm
Genji
wrong
final
because I
menang
would
T1
love
harus.
something new. But T1, I think they've pulled through too many times. I think that is what's going to
T1
happen here
itu
today. I expect that
X-Men.
they will in fact level up. It'll be tough, but I think they got
Kurang
what it takes
apapun
to win
mereka di
today.
tahun
Yeah,
kemarin kan
I
mereka
think both of you have good points.
kayak
I
kacau gitu
do
kan.
agree with
Waktu
Huni on
diganti
this
sama
one. I
Bobby,
just feel
si
like
Faker
Home
waktu
Life
Faker
Esports'
akhir.
form
Tapi
currently
mereka bisa
is
nge-clutch
better
sampai
than
ke
we've
final cuy.
seen from a lot of teams in the LCK for a very long time. So I think they're just really on point. They had T1's number before. I think it's going to be much closer this time around, but still had to go the way of Home Life Esports. So we'll have to wait and see, and you guys can see more of the predictions a little bit later when the casters come on. But for now, let's hear from the coaches and see what they had to say about the upcoming series.
네, 안녕하세요. 하나생명 e스포츠 감독 데니 최인규입니다. 일단 개인적으로는 오랜만에 이렇게 큰 무대에서 게임을 할 수 있게 돼서 굉장히 좀 재밌을 것 같고 살짝 긴장도 되고 그런
Gue pengen
기분이고
nonton di sana, Cok.
T1이라는 강팀과
Gue pengen
이런
duduk di sana
결승 최종전
gue pengen pindah ke
진출
Korea
최종전이라는
guys.
곳에서 붙게 되어서
Dan bisa nonton
팬분들께
LCK
재밌는
series
경기 보여드릴 수 있어서
on
좋은
site.
것 같습니다. 일단 플레이오프에서
네,
저희가
online
T1을 이겼을 때 느낌을 최대한 좀 살리려고 했고 또 이제 T1이 잘하는 또 강점적인 부분들을 최대한
Tapi
억누르는
tim memang ngerti kalau
방향으로
like
좀 준비를 했습니다.
sebelum di
일단
playoff kan
선수들은
T1
큰
sempat kalah
무대
ya di
경험이 많아서
round
또
2
오랜만에 이런 큰 무대 와가지고 굉장히 또
spring ini.
좀 즐겁게 게임을 한다는 마인드인 것 같고 또 오늘 컨디션도 굉장히 괜찮은 것 같습니다. 저희 이제 하나생명 e스포츠 창단 이후 첫 결승 진출 기회이기 때문에 그만큼 굉장히 간절하고 열심히 준비했기 때문에 네, 좋은 경기력으로 보답드릴 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
안녕하세요. T1 감독
고마워요.
김정민입니다. 이렇게 큰 무대에서 다시 경기를 할 수 있게 되어서
Ini orang bener-bener sayang banget sama
정말
Faker, Cok.
뜻깊게
Kelihatan
생각하고
banget.
있고요. 오늘 경기 꼭 이겨서
Kayak bapak-bapaknya Faker.
결승전 진출하겠습니다. 지금 버전에 맞게 정말 많은 연습과 다양한 픽, 운영 정말
Mereka
많은 걸
nyiapin berbagai
준비해서
macam
이렇게 또
pick dan
다전제에서
juga ini
오늘은
draft.
정말 좋은 모습
Gue harap
보여드릴
ini
수
bisa
있을 것
ngeluarin
같습니다.
something yang unik ya.
지금 당장 개개인 선수의 컨디션을 좀 제가 판단하긴 어렵지만 나쁘진 않다고 생각하고 있습니다. 정말 다양하게 많은 연습을 했고
Nah, iklan mana Cok? Gue berharap YouTube ini gue berdiri dulu ini guys, iklan tiba-tiba dan ada delay.
오늘 승리해서 꼭
itu
2연속 진출
agak nge-lag
이어나갈 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 정말 많이 준비했고요. 오늘 좋은 경기력 보여드리겠습니다.
So there you have it, both coaches giving their words. I feel like I could feel the weight of a lot of pressure
Satu
on
menit
the
lagi.
shoulders of Goma
Let's
right
go.
now, where on the other side, Danny was like, yeah, you know, the players are feeling pretty
Ini mungkin
good.
main bakal setengah jaman lagi ya. Setengah jam atau 40 menit lagi karena nanti bakal ada pembukaan dari caster Korea, terus ada manggil-manggil pemain-pemainnya.
Definitely a lot of pressures over there, but I mean that's, you know, they always beat in the pressure, so it's no worries.
Yeah, I feel like pretty much every player here can handle the pressure, but we'll have to wait and see. Guys, by the way, if you missed a chance to get tickets for these finals, you can visit your local CCV and watch them and have a nice viewing party with a bunch of other LCK fans anywhere pretty much in Korea.
Don't sleep on the popcorn. CGV popcorn. We've been enjoying that a lot.
It's fire.
It's really good.
It's fire, man. Yeah,
it's really good, and I feel like better than just watching at home alone or something like that. Gathering up with your friends and watching these finals is a lot of fun. So we're just about ready to hop into this one, guys. We have done our little pre-show bit. We've talked a lot about who's going to win, what we think, the analysis, but it all does come down to how the game is actually played. So I hope all 10 players are ready to go for this final. Should be a banger. I really hope we get 5 games as well. Just 5, one time. And we'll see you after the opening. Hope you guys do enjoy it. And we'll see you on the other side.
3-0 buat T1 cuy. Wah, keren banget ya. Ini cewek semua anjing. Ada cowok yang itu lihat cewek semua ya ini ya. Ini cowok gak sekian menit tuh kali Korea. Alright, let's go. You wanna have to win. Kita cek dua apa ya? Base. Ada namanya ya? Janji base. Cier piala mereka cok. Tapi saya nggak di piala Worlds ya. Skin, Lehens. Ini jago orang Kenyan. Gila. Mungkin di atas Honor ya. Showmaker juga. Gitu dan dia juga Showmaker. Keren ya. Apalagi pas lawan JJ kemarin. Ke Brian. Wah, ini dia Juan Malay coba. Nilai Zeka, Adoran, Zeus. This is our carry, our best carry in T1 cuy. Kalau buat season ini. Dan dia juga MVP kan dari Ors kemarin. Ah ini dia udah lagu men si Dev WDD. Sekal tadi gitu, gue gak tau. Gak tau apa. Dia arahnya. Tapi dia tuh bagus tahun kemarin man. Nah kalau sekarang udah beda banget rosternya. Zeus, Keria, Guma, Oner dan Faker di belakangnya cowok. Our God Faker. I'm a fighter. Let's go Faker. Oh trailer dulu coba, masih trailer anjing, banyak banget trailernya. Keren selain jadi player, keren jadi model juga guys. Kalau keren jadi player Korea. The orange strain has level up. Iya sih anjir. Gue harap semenang lah T1 lah. Tenang cuy, Zeus pasti bakal carry. FAKER bakal bikin top play yang bakal mantap banget cok. Gila cok, gue bener-bener tiba menang aja. Kembali kalah soalnya cok. Ini kalau gak salah pembukaan caster Koreanya dulu deh. Soalnya kalau di lower bracket final itu mereka naik bus anjay. Bujir. Kalau T1 kalau biasanya naik mobil ya biasanya ya. Mobil apart gitu. Kan naik bus anjay. Keren juga. Di live Zeka juara yang ngalahin T1 kemarin BTW. Nah ini T1 kan Mercedes Benz anjing gua. Well, mereka sering live stream ini ya, live stream Mercedes Benz ya. Nah, ini dia cok, sama top player.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Uribe 2024 LCK Spring Lower Bracket Finals. It's a mouthful, and it's a mouthful for a reason, because this is where we get down to brass tacks. I'm Atlas, I'm joined by Orcs and Wolf. As we bring
guys,
incredible best of 5 between two old rivals, Hanwha Life Esports and T1. It's been 3 years since we've seen T1 miss in LCK finals, and Hanwha Life may break the streak now.
Yeah, I feel like other times it's very much just been okay. You know, Gen G T1 have looked clearly ahead of everyone else, but
tetap bakal Gen G T1 di final, Cok.
between these
Oke, ini
two,
T1 bakal menang.
I
MSI,
think a lot of people favoring
ZO,
Yeah,
FGK,
and I think
Zeus,
that's where the
Onet,
smart
FAKER,
money's at, given the brevity
Yusi Korea.
of the 3-0 that Hanwha Life Esports did put T1 through. But when T1's backs are against the wall, it is generally the time that they thrive, and we'll see whether that is going to be the case today. And let's dive into our predictions on that note, because this is where I can now let you guys know that I don't believe we're going to have a different final. You can see on the Korean side, though, definitely a little bit more in favor of Hanwha Life Esports here. Yeah, a little bit surprised that the Korean side went so heavily Hanwha Life favored. Myself and Valdez, I think, were the most outspoken Hanwha predictors, Uni and Ox as well, who weren't on Foxy.
Wah, Ox bangke juga kamu ya 3-1 ya. Buat Hanwha, gak masih itu prediksi mereka ya, ke mereka lah ya.
Yeah, I
Tapi
feel
gue
like
yakin
he's kind of just
T1 bakal bisa
reliable. We know
kelas,
they're going to make it back. That's his view. He's like, they have always bounced back. They've always managed to make finals on an occasion. But for me, I feel like you can't sort of ignore the form, especially because if it wasn't for Chovy's insane performance, then we might have seen Hanwha Life already in finals.
Tapi kalau fan prediction pasti T1 sih ya. Kalau ini pasti ditanya karena masalah fans udah kayak RFT lah, RFT lawan Onyx lah ya. Mungkin banyak kan fans RFT kan, jadi fan predictionnya jauh banget. Tapi Onyx lo juga main banget sih kalau setelah fans sekarang. Semoga segacor fan prediction ya mainnya T1.
Is actually pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, T1 also, you know, having that 7 out of 8 finals with this roster, they have only missed a single one, and have otherwise just been so insanely dominant. And every time the fans count them out, every time the analysts count them out, they get it done. They did it just last season against KT Rolster. Everyone almost unanimously favoring KT Rolster to go to that finals, and T1 shut them down despite Faker's late recovery from his injury, despite his relatively small champion pool at the time. They still made it happen. They might make it happen again tonight.
Also, just a team who have so consistently made deep runs in internationals need to win here to make MSI, and I think we'll be very reliant.
Well, first
I got Doran coming in for Hanwha Life Esports, and I think he's had a pretty big step
asal
Still has
gua harap
some
Rek'Sai di ban aja sih
moments,
kalau
but
buat
his
orang.
positive plays have been there and a big factor for the team.
Karena
Absolutely.
ya
Doran has been
Zeus
the
pernah
anti-Zeus as well, and
Rek'Sai-nya.
so many of these
Kalau
critical
Doran yang
best of
pakai
fives,
Rek'Sai
especially his
bakal OP.
time on Gen G. A player we often criticize for underperforming and choking in big moments, very emotional, but he has been the rock for both Gen G and now Hanwha Life here in big best of fives. A huge task up against this season's toughest top laner.
Tiba-tiba masih itu ada.
Performance in previous finals.
Ini dia, Cok. Our most scary, our MVP di Worlds. Nah ini dia kan baru gua ngomong tadi, masih bilang sama ini Zeus. Gila dia bagus banget nanti di sini mainnya. Dari semua T1 dia yang paling di atas rata-rata semua mainnya. Dia muda juga dan apa sih kemarin menang. Pas depannya cerah jauh-jauh. Sekarang dia ada di T1, salah satu tim yang paling diandalkan oleh bukan hanya di Korea tapi di seluruh dunia, men. Apalagi orang-orang yang main di Top Legend. Ini dia final. Jungler T1 2016, saya yang dia bisa dengan T1 dan FAKER. Ini dia final, men. 11 ya angkanya. Gua gak tahu itu angka dapat dari mana. Anjing cewek semua, coy, yang nonton aja. Gila sih kalau kalian jadi pro player
FAKER.
di
They've played
Korea
so
tuh
many best of fives
yang
against
nonton
each other,
cewek-cewek.
and he has been so key in Hanwha's most
Terus
recent wins against T1. The second round robin
didukung
win
juga sama
at the end
pemerintah
of the
guys, kalau
regular
kalian nggak tahu.
season, and that
Kemarin kan T1
3-0
menang
peanut was so
awards.
impactful.
Terus
And also just the fact that obviously a lot of
seingat
discussion
gua presiden
about
ya,
Hanwha
kalau nggak salah
versus T1,
presidennya
but
mereka
Gen G's
bikin
legacy
surat
was
buat
really the consistent
ngasih
performances
ucapan
came
selamat sama
down to
T1
him.
dan mereka bilang
And
bakal
then
ngedukung
inside owner in the
e-sport di
jungle
Korea, men.
definitely player has had
Itu
some
keren banget
inconsistent
anjay.
performances, and it's going to be a big ask him going up against Peanut today. But him and FAKER, when they're gelling, when they're on the same wavelength, definitely can come out with some big guns.
Oner tuh
The owner, a player very
jungler yang
reliant on his
mungkin
lane,
dibutuhin sama
winning
Zeus
lane
ya.
Cryo.
Jadi Zeus itu butuh pasangannya butuh Oner. Kenapa? Karena kalau misalnya Zeus kalah laning, kalah sih ya sama musuhnya. Si Oner suka ngasih junglernya buat si Zeus. Jadi ya emang sekali ini sih menguntungkan sih. Zeus yang carry, Onernya ngasih
And Peanut even shot calling the walkout,
kanan gitu.
as we can see there, indicating that owner should start walking up with him.
Ini dia, the
All have
GOATs.
to die hard, I guess, gentlemen. It's now. Turn our
GOAT
attention to the mid lane.
FAKER. Oh enggak,
Yeah,
Peanut Zeka dulu.
I have to say, I feel like Zeka
Ini dia ngalahin
leveled up
T1
so
kemarin
much.
di Awards
He still
2021.
has his signature picks, you know. A lot of people get
Iya,
criticism
2021.
say, okay, yeah, on the Akali, on the Yone, he's
Bareng Dev,
fantastic.
dia bareng
But I feel
Burial,
like he
bareng
started
Kelsey,
putting in
bareng
really strong
King
performances
Gen
on
juga.
picks
Cuman
like
sekarang
this
tim
player,
Robo
like the Porky,
ganti
which earlier
banget
this
namanya
season
di Rex
was
dulu kan.
criticized on.
Kan di Rex udah
I
gak
feel
ada.
like mid has been so
King
important
Gen-nya
this
ke DK,
season, and FAKER and Chovy
Biasanya
being on
sekarang
such
ada
good
di KT,
form, and yet
meskipun
Zeka really
balik ke
stepped
LPL
up to
sih.
be able to match them when it came to playoffs. And be
Terus
a
Zekanya ini Honolai,
standout player for this
Devnya di
roster.
KT, Berylnya
Really
juga
has
di
leveled up quite a
KT.
bit, but he's playing against the unkillable Demon
Ini
King.
dah,
T1,
unkillable Demon King.
their jerseys have
FAKER.
the 4 stars to represent
Anjay.
4 world titles, but only
Dia
FAKER
kayak gini
can
kayaknya,
say
cuy.
he was a part
Kayak
of
FAKER.
each and every star
Selalu
they've
kayak
earned.
bapak-bapak.
A man who has so many
Tingkah udah berumur
milestones.
juga ya.
T1's 10 titles are all his.
Iya cuy, the
Every
GOAT.
road leads to FAKER.
After
All roads lead to
10
this
years,
man.
man,
He
10
has
tahun
been so
masih di
impactful for this team this season, even
dan
in
masih
some of
bisa
their
masuk
toughest
ke
losses. He made huge impacts.
lower bracket,
You can't
lower
say
bracket
League of
final.
Legends, you can't think about the LCK without this
Gila,
player.
the
And he might
GOATs.
miss his first final in 5, but he wants to
Yeah.
add one more milestone,
FAKER,
which is the
FAKER.
first team to get 6 in a row.
And his individual form has really been on point since last
Lagi
Worlds,
mas.
honestly. We've seen areas where FAKER was more facilitator for the team, but he has been individually carrying a lot of games since
Ini
that
sih
point. And
gua sebenarnya
speaking of individual
kalau
carry,
dibandingin ya
Viper,
secara
in a lot of
pair to
people's
pair tuh
opinion, he has been such a
Vipersnya lebih bagus
standout
sih.
AD
Yes.
carry this season.
Banding
Obviously,
Guma.
world champion with EDG.
Cuman ya,
but I think
gua
him
yakin Guma
paired
sekarang
with
bisa
Delight has
level
just
up.
by far been comfortably the strongest bot lane in the league, and with picks like Zeri with
Di
his
late
great
game
AD carry
Viper tuh
buffs,
ya
he
dia
can easily
skill
take
cetak tuh
over
ngeri banget
games.
sih.
No, absolutely. His Zeri as well is something that we will definitely see a lot of attention on in draft. His ability to
Dia pakai
carry
Zeri
late
bagus,
game
pakai
team
Forest
fights what
bagus.
makes him different than his
Itu doang
spoiled
sih
Guma, who is
paling
all
gua takutin.
about the
Apalagi
early
Wasan
game
juga sih
control.
lumayan.
The Viper's late game team fighting is unmatched here in the LCK.
And his opponent, someone who's had some difficulty with
Anjing, ngapain kebalik dulu anjing.
taking away some of the limelight,
Anjir,
but
baca
I
kayak
don't
banget.
think that it's bothered him too much.
Gila, Guma
Yeah,
emang
I think
kecicilan men.
Really, we've seen Guma and Carrier look to dominate
Anjay,
the
gini
2v2.
tuh,
I
lucu.
remember we had the dual kill stats, and they were just
Guma.
leagues ahead of everyone else. And obviously, the focus tends to go on Carrier. But this pairing, if they find a window, not even a window, they find the slightest gap to punish in lane and to pull ahead, they will. And
Ini
often
dia,
innovating,
dia saudaranya FAKER berarti
capitalize
buat
on
kalian
that,
nggak
you
tahu
know,
ya.
defining last
Si Guma
year's
itu saudara
Worlds
jauhnya
meta
FAKER.
with that bot lane play that allow them to take lane by lane by lane,
Yeah.
take it over, and undoubtedly
Ininya
looking to do that again.
sama banget ya. Gerakannya juga sama.
Absolutely. A really exciting
Keren.
matchup. Very different clashing styles between these two players right now.
Sebenarnya
And
juga
they
nggak tahu
wouldn't, of course, be able
FAKER
to do
sama
any
Guma
of it
sih.
without their supports. Delight, one of
Ini dia, the
the
best.
coolest LCK stories of the last
Bukan the best sih, cuman ya the bestnya carry ya sih buat sekarang kalau buat support. Cuman dia kalau pakai engager, wah gila ngeri banget nih orang. Pakai Rakan, Nautilus. Apalagi dia dulu kan Genji kan ya. Salah satu tim squad juga. Dia mantan tim Genji. Ini ya cuy. Sekarang Wota K-popper. Pecinta New Jeans kita.
Carrier,
Bukan New Jeans doang sih segala macam ini ya.
kind of open the box for what you can
Carry
do as a support player. I mean, support I feel like doesn't even give
Dia
full
kelihatan
context to it.
lucu-lucu begitu tapi dia
A lot of picks
wah,
aren't necessarily
jago, cuy.
always innovated by him, but he takes it
Mengerikan
to
ya.
another level. You know, we saw the
Supportnya
Ash support.
killing
He
support
brings
ya.
out things like we've seen the Caitlyn, the Kalista, even this
Bisa
season
nge-carry
still
gitu.
taking over with that, and I feel like it makes it so difficult. There's so much presence in the draft,
Ini
but
dia,
also
coy,
just the
support.
ability to
Kalau
still
kayak
whip
sih
back,
ya,
still play those
gue
traditional
bisa bilang
engage
the
tricks,
best
but then whip out
from
something
all
like
ATK
we've seen
ya.
the Mill, we've seen the Rumble, and
Plus
just
setelah hands
dominate
di
games
live.
on it.
He has been, I feel like, so attached to Guma's success as well. I feel like Viper can get a lot done on his own, and Delight will
Akhirnya sudah
roam and
berkumpul
have a
semua.
lot of success.
Kita
even
bisa
with
main ya,
bot lane.
tadi kita
But
kan
it is
harus mereka
Guma and
main
Terry
ya.
who are linked
Sudah berapa menit
together
juga live
in that
streaming?
bottom dominance. As
Sudah
Genji waits
40 menit
on
guys,
to find out
belum
who's going to
mulai
be joining
main.
them tomorrow. The stakes could not be higher. Not
Ini
only
dia.
tomorrow's grand finals, but an
Lower bracket
MSI
final,
spot on the
live.
line as well.
Oh dia jalan duluan?
And this moment here, captain's coming out
Oh
with a fist
katanya
bump.
men.
So much
Oh
history
kapten
between
Hanwha itu
players.
Peanut ya?
Peanut and Faker, of course, they were teammates, but
They
first
were
off,
teammates,
they
of
were
course.
against one another on this stage 8 years ago.
Kalau kalian
Absolutely
nonton
amazing to
klip-klip
have
lama
them
ya,
back.
Faker
Fist
sama
bump,
si Peanut
and
tuh
we'll
mereka
see who
harap
is
banget
going
sih.
to be facing off against
Di
Genji, who are
klip-klip
sitting here
out
in
of the
the
game ya, out of the
stadium
game ya.
to
Kayak
await their
mereka
opposition.
vlog gitu
Both of
bareng.
these teams, so much on the line. Will it be
Sekarang
another
mereka
T1
harus
versus Genji, or will it
bertanding
be
bersama
once
lain
more
melawan.
a lot of Genji players playing against one another? Like this is the crazy
One
thing about
live.
Live Esports versus Genji just in general.
So they have more Genji players
Malah
from
sebenarnya
last
malah
Genji
ya.
roster than Genji do.
Yeah, right.
A lot
Iwan
of
sih
talk
Pak
about
Mercedes kan
that
kalau
and
itu.
the fact that obviously the countless wins that Genji
Samsung
built
audisi
to
banyak
rank
banget.
up are
Sponsor T1
attributed
cok.
to three of the players
Samsung,
on Live Esports right now. Peanut has
Nike
stared
juga
down
seingat
T1
gue sponsor
multiple
T1.
times
Mercedes.
and dispatched them domestically and is looking to
Banyak
do
banget
so
sponsornya, cok.
again today.
Hanwha Life do have higher seed. A lot of the
Tuh kan,
focus is going to
ada
be
logo tuh
on
Mercedes,
draft here because T1
Samsung,
they have their
gini ya.
specific
Terus
style
ini
that
tadi
is
apa,
trying
Alien
to
apa?
control early.
Gua
And they
lupa
have
tadi.
often made the mistake
Kalau
of
Alien
leaving
ya.
up some of the big prio picks like Delight's Nautilus, for example, which was a
Tengok,
huge boon
nggak tahu.
for Hanwha
Tapi
and a
ada suara aneh
huge
bunyi.
disaster for T1
Gua
when they
lagi
met up
garuk.
earlier on in
Sama
the
gua dulu.
playoffs. So, you know, some of the other picks we'll be talking about here.
Ini dia dulu
or
bukan
these
di-
here, you know, it's right now sitting at
Apa sih,
8-2
musim kemarin
in
dia bukan,
playoffs. You know, if
coach
you
T1
look
ya?
at the players who played
Cuman
it,
dulu dia
you
pas
know,
T1 terus
well,
keluar terus kayak
Zaka,
lagi sekarang.
Chovy, and Faker, those are three
Gua harap
players
dia
I'm
bisa
focusing on
balik
here.
kekuatan
They're
T1 kayak
8-2
dulu.
collectively on it. Zaka
Dia dulu
3-0,
mantan
Faker
player
2-0 has
Trakteer
been the
juga,
most
Format.
impactful mid champion in our playoffs.
Pada
Everybody
T1.
remembers that Chovy series where he was able to single-handedly carry his team to victory and the grand finals on said pick. There's the man himself right now. He's watching on.
Yeah.
Ini ya, oh ini Genji
Genji
cuy.
waiting to see who their opposition is
Ada
going to be. And
hands,
man, you were just
ada
talking about
Kenyan
their
tuh,
Chovy
ada
in the middle. You can barely tell their
Kian.
expression because they are wearing the Genji masks here just to make sure that they stay safe. But I'm not sure, guys. I just don't know who their opposition
Mereka
is going to be. I know what my prediction said, but
pasti sih mereka nonton kayak gini.
I flipped a coin basically, and then just went with what Jonas Strong said because I feel like that's where the smart money's at some of the time.
Pretty safe bet.
Ada
but,
Tom juga
I
tuh,
think something that
pelatih
really
T1.
stands out for me is last Worlds. You
Biasanya
know,
Tom sama
when
Roach kan.
T1 set
Iya.
themselves, they were
Sekarang ke Thomas
reevaluating
sama
their
Tom.
draft priorities, really shifted things up, changed gear,
Nah,
that
udah.
helped them end up winning the
Rapik.
title.
Let's go.
I feel like they've had some issues in draft, and also obviously had some
Ini
massive
dia, cuy.
issues in their series.
Wah, gila,
when
keren
against
banget
Live
aja.
Esports, so would be
Ariana,
surprised if they
first,
kind of
punya
reevaluate
Faker.
and have a bit of a different prior from what we've seen so far.
I really hope so, and that's for me what T1
Tam
needs
Keynes.
to prove tonight is they've made bigger
Atau Asher
adaptations
ini.
than we saw against T+,
Anjing,
a
Alista.
much weaker opponent. Now, for Guma Yusi, the focus has been outside of his center,
Oke,
which is
Senna
now back
di-ban.
away. Lucian, Kalista, Varus. Those are basically the
Masih
only
di-ban, kan?
picks he is playing right now. He's lost the Kalista, he's lost the Lucian,
Oke.
and if you give Viper
Nah,
the
ini.
Varus early, Guma's not the type of player who likes to play
Rek'Sai
Zeri
dong.
into that. He's played Zeri one time this
Please,
entire
Rek'Sai.
season. He's 0-1 on the pick. So a really easy way to draft this for Hanwha Life is to try to focus, limit the champions he can play, and then
Please,
say, well,
Rek'Sai
you're going to
dong.
play Varus into Zeri, or I'll just take
Kayaknya
the
main Zeri
Varus
deh.
away.
Well, this is a lot less focus on Peanut than we've seen
Yes,
for a
nice,
lot
Rek'Sai.
of other players, a
Good.
lot of other teams.
Kayaknya Zeri deh.
The Rek'Sai is going to be
Varus.
banned though. This is what I was going to talk
Oh
about.
iya,
If
mereka
you're
masih
gonna talk
kalah ya,
about
soalnya
homework
nanti
to
takut
be
Varus Ashe
taken
diambil
away
T1.
from the first series for T1,
Nah kan
for
Ashe.
me it was Rek'Sai and it was Nautilus. This time, the Nautilus is left up. Archery is
Oh
going to be
iya,
the
Nautilusnya
focus,
lepas,
as we
Cok.
can see here. Varus
Aduh,
going to be
pasti di
locked
lap
away
kayak
first
Nautilus
up
sih.
for Viper. But I think that if
Apalagi
T1
udah
can
keluar
get rid
Varus
of the
kayak gini.
Nautilus and they've banned away the Rek'Sai, then I'm giving them ticks. You know, like the little red ticks on the homework, that's coming straight up.
Yeah, looks like they're going to be able to get their hands
Nggak,
on the
mungkin kan mereka
Vi.
berhasil kan.
It was interesting, we've often seen Ash Rumble be a really strong duo, but not committing to that yet. And again, as you said, Zeri not being as popular for the side of T1. They also have had these tendencies to go different directions towards CD carry, but they're going to commit to this clear. Strong combo with the Vi, obviously, point-and-click CC combined with the knockback has a lot of value here, and Honor Life Esports can just look to match mid-jungle in these next few picks.
No, I think the Azir is a very likely pick, even though Talia has been kind of a soft counter to it. It's been one of the biggest responses. However, now we're just going straight into Sejuani here and the Yone. And now the problem with T1 picking up this Talia early is you don't get to have a strong bottom duo anymore. It is going to be split best case scenario, and unless you've got a really strong secret plan for that bottom lane prepared, you're going to be limited further in the second banning phase. Let's see what they decide to go with here. As it's not an easy call.
I think Nautilus being still up and available, they could lock that one away, but this makes a lot of sense. The Rek'Sai has already been banned. I think it's the only thing that has survived lane against the Twisted Fate, and especially Zeus' Twisted Fate. So it does make some sense here. They can now ban away the Jax. Counter-Strike has worked in the past, even if Jax isn't necessarily the laner that he used to be. And so we'll just see what their focus is going to be moving into the next round of picks.
And you know, it has been a trend for T1 to put all that focus towards Zeus, you know, ensure he's a good matchup and obviously banning away the counters now, but the AD carry pool is heavily getting thinned out now. And into Varus, you know, so much presence in the lane-in phase, the fact that you have that advantage in range, have that poke pressure, it is going to be problematic. So,
karena kalau stay-nya udah di-ban.
The Ashe is still something that's available if they want to try go something like the Ashe Rumble, but we'll see. Jinx is an option.
The Draven, another pick that we have seen Guma play. It's his debut pick back from the World's Qualifiers so many years ago. Looking to lock the Rakan here potentially to see. Neither of these feel great for T1, and it feels like this is the issue I had with committing to the Talia here is Faker has a massive champion pool, but now you're putting Guma on this area. His second Zeri of the season. And he has just not normally been very comfortable on this pick. He's not a bad Zeri player, but he often avoids it. This is not T1's playstyle. Yeah, you have a strong top side now. You can play through a little bit here. But it's going to be scaling bottom, and that has never been, for the last 2 years, T1's MO.
The difficulty, the Ashe Varus up and available here if Honor Life Esports would like to go
with Sejuani as well. It feels amazing here.
Yeah, and so much potential, and the fact that, you know, for me,
gue agak sedikit kurang yakin ya dia pick up T1, tapi semoga T1 bisa. Wah, ada juga.
They're gonna have the pressure advantage. Definitely feels like a bit of an issue. I mean, there's so much dive potential with this Honor Life Esports composition. Yes, you have the TF, the Talia who are decent at keeping threats at bay, but I feel like there's just so much overwhelming engagement potential from the side of Honor Life Esports.
I think for T1, your best bet with this composition is to snowball early, and it is a Zeri comp, but we can have some of those moments around the early objectives, the early Herald fights, the early Dragon fights, where you can get community online by setting up big Vi ultimates into some shoves from Faker. Maybe Guma gets a kill or two, he comes online early, and you just become too big to fail. Otherwise, his composition kind of does two different things for T1. On one hand, you have great engage, but it's not burst damage follow-up you have with this Zeri pick, and the re-engage and the disengage potential here for Hanwha is insane, because if they go in with a Vi ult into gold card, the Talia wall hits Cassante, for example, bam, Rel comes back in, Magnet Storm comes down, the re-engage is so fantastic, they have so much damage they can layer on top of this. T1, I think, can win in the late game, even if they go even, but ideally they'd like to win a lot of mid-game fights and start to snowball this game so quickly that the Zeri becomes too big to fail.
Yeah, I think if you get to the late game, there's just an element of finesse that you're going to need. You're going to need to have so much control over every fight. You're going to have the vision set up. You're going to be on objective first to be able to see where everyone's coming from, because the fact that you have multiple threats you can look to aggress on your backline, if you're not able to lock them down with TF, with Talia and Ravel, you're really going to start having issues, especially this Yone. We've seen Zeka have such fantastic presence with this champion, and with the backing of picks like the Sejuani, like the Rel, who can really set you up just to knock them down.
And the thing that I'm worried about here for T1 fans is the fact that Honor Life Esports are all on their comfort style and comfort champions. T1 going to have to come out swinging here in game number 1. Let's get under the rift for the first one.
하나생명 하나 둘셋 bagus sih si suara senior kayak mafia gitu.
Oh my goodness, the KSPO Dome erupting in cheers as T1 and Honor Life Esports do make their way out onto the rift, and here we are for the very first game I think when we're discussing the draft battle, I think we can be pretty confident that Half-Life has come out somewhat on top.
I agree. I think there's a lot of ways for T1 to make this work, and it does feel like they got half of what they wanted. It's just that Gumayusi Zeri that does kind of stare at you, feeling like, all right, well, Onwood clearly knew you like to avoid this. They put you into this awkward position. Now you're playing Zeri Rakan in a very uncomfortable matchup here into a Varus lane. And I do feel like that gives a ton of agency. Plus the comfort picks you already mentioned does give a pretty massive edge to Hanwha Life.
And the mounted engage combo here of Delight and Peanut.
And a lane swap.
Oh, this is a little bit clever. I feel like it's somewhat topical these days as well. As we do see Viper moving towards the top side of the map. And this is not unheard of either, to just randomly play your Varus in a different lane.
Yeah, it's a bit interesting though, because we have seen this strategy. We've seen it in the LEC. Oh, Zeus.
Wow, well,
he's lit on fire. Delight making his way in. Viper trying to get that last couple of autos. But Zeus is going to be able to make his way out. No teleport, remember, as well. And now doesn't have Ghost.
This is a huge win because you know there's no teleport on the Twisted Fate, so you can get this win. And the fact that he has to back even almost feels worse, you know? If you die, you get the gold. If you live, you have to back and then walk all the way back. And this is so fantastic into a level 1 Twisted Fate. The one lane where you do have a little bit of an extra edge, obviously that Twisted Fate range advantage. Don't have it anymore. Now Keria going to go up here to try to support. But even Peanut starting topside Krugs here means Zeus just out of the game for a while.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing with the TF is we've seen, you know, as I said, a lot of lane swaps in the LEC, we've seen it in the LPL, and often you can kind of have...
Oh, there's the flash forward with the crash down from Delight. Goldcard has come on through there as Keria going to make his way over as well, but now 0 summoner spells and no way to get to this lane. Just missed out on a full cannon. The whole experience gone. This wave is also going to be gone as well.
Yeah, he's still got no CS. The thing is, with Twisted Fate, you want to farm and get the extra gold from your CS, so missing out so heavily in Hanwha Life Esports, not even allowing Zeus to play lane 1v1, just really putting him in an uncomfortable spot right now.
Oh, Keria making his way in as well. Speaking of uncomfortable spots, that's where Zachary is as well. And Azona comes on over and is going to be able to take that one down. So T1 on the board despite the disasters of the top lane.
The question is, though, is this going to be enough to actually stop the damage that was already taken? You can see T1 take a gold lead here, but it's free farm on the top side. Zeka does have teleport, can get straight back to lane here. Faker going to be burning his as well. And yes, you end up getting that first blood gold here, but the damage has certainly been done. And I don't think this really undoes the fact that Zeus is sitting at level 1 and is still, you know, just camped up here on the top side. No one's bailing him out. Keria is still level 1 as well. This game may end soon if they don't change things up.
Yeah, you know, Keria has 1 CS, and Zeus is behind that. He's just walked up, there's still no farm for him to take. He's just not even touched a minion at this point. Okay, 1 farm from the ward. He got the ward. So, yeah, this is just such a horrible position to be in for Zeus right now. And you can see on the bot side, just, you know, he's down in farm in this matchup, kind of just vibing.
You just have to be up against your direct opposition. That is the main thing, and I think he was doing better than Zero at that point in time on the bottom side of the map. It's really kind of clever from Hanwha Life Esports, but still, T1 being able to pick up that first blood, definitely important. We're going to check it out again.
Yeah, so this is just, of course, 3 members stacking onto Zeka here who went for Q3, so doesn't really have anything flash to guarantee the kill. Pretty simple setup here, but the cost is so heavy. 4 in mid for a player who has teleport. Just feels so bad as Zeus now hits level 3 here at 5 minutes. And this is just such a disaster here for T1 in this early game. Zeri getting some additional experience, obviously bottom side, and does have a lead over Cassante. They're going to have to turn that into a team fight win here. These upcoming Dragons potentially to get back into this game. Otherwise, this is just rolling down the hill so fast, this snowball.
And the other problem is, because Keria has just gotten no XP, yes, Guma is higher level, but until Keria starts getting some levels himself, you're not going to have an even 2v2, right? We've seen Varus come back to lane with a Dirk. It's a level 2 Rakan. He just isn't offering much. So Keria is actually leeching XP from other lanes just to try and catch up, because you won't be able to match up against the Varus and the Rakan unless, against the Varus and the Rel, unless your Rakan has abilities to use.
Well, now you can see you've got Delight moving on over to help Peanut out.
Untung dia menge-TF sih bagusnya.
First one is going to be a mounted. You'll see exactly what soul we're going to get.
Throwing some red cards out, Doran pretty happy with the fact that he's hit level 6 as Zeus has hit level 4. So the control that you're going to get with a Twisted Fate in this matchup, not really there here.
Completely. And he does have his Ghost back, of course, now, so can relatively safely get out of any engage attempt that Doran has, but this is basically removing the top part of the lane for Doran, putting Zeus out of early game skirmishes. He's still sitting on just that Doran's blade here. Look at what Doran can do!
Yeah, he's just going to go all out. And Zeus, yeah, he does have the Ghost, but Doran's not really finding too many of these Qs, and therefore Zeus is going to be able to run it out. But trading Ghosts here, and also ult does come on through as there's Kerry getting stunned up once again. Of course, no access to the quickness here. He's still level 3.
Zeus still doesn't have ult, and he still doesn't have teleport, so you don't kill him, but he's going to be losing even more farm here on the top side. He's essentially removed from game 1 here of the playoffs, and Doran's just going to crash this wave and potentially grab some plates. He can clear the back, but he's looking for some money as well.
Yeah, and the only edge you really have is that level advantage for Guma, but you're not really able to capitalize. You're not able to find an all-in with the level 6 from the Zeri, and it's the Light and Viper who have the pressure in the 2v2, so I feel like you've lost any edge you had in the top lane, but the compensation on the bot side isn't enough, isn't significant enough really for a payoff.
Well, interruption from Delight does push Faker over the wall. He has to flash, get himself out of there. And so no ultimate and no flash up here for Faker. Definitely a good move. We do have to talk about the fact that T1 are still ahead in gold. They've still managed to fill up those coffers regardless. But Life Esports are going to have a very explosive game. Steals away the red buff here as well.
Knowing Faker has no flash.
Yeah. Dash does come forward.
Zeka
does carry a stun back with him as he does rebind the soul, but Yone
mana ada ulti lagi si Tejonia.
There is a Q connecting here from Doran, who doesn't have the all-out. Ona turns up once again, but I think this is mainly just to stop Doran from doing too much more. Dashes on forward. You can see Doran unperturbed about the state of the lane.
You just have to kind of babysit Zeus here, and you don't really have the potential to kill Doran, especially if his ult comes up. It's going to be very dangerous, but this is so free for Peanut. 2v2 is unwinnable.
Zeus' face on the player cam as well in that moment. He's just shaking his head. He knows he's not playing League of Legends. He's not allowed. They said no. And, he's just denied additional farm here. Slow walking back to lane. Look at his experience bar. He's 2/3 to the Destiny. If Destiny's to lane and gets all outed again, who cares anyways? So just have to back one more time. The lack of teleport here, the Cole buy, the saddest Cole you'll ever see in inventory here. As they've just been duped early, the level 1 lane swap. So incredibly impactful here. And yeah, gold lead for T1 still part of it, that first blood, but it's diminished quite significantly down to just 200. And a 5v4 game, I think, says it all. If Zeus can't actually get farmed, doesn't matter if T1 maintain a gold lead for now, it's not going to last.
Doran just trying to push him away from experience, and that is going to be successful.
The thing is, he has no idea there could be, they're looking potentially for a dive.
Oke, Nurse menang sih, Nurse dapat mereka. At least buat batanya menang. Aduh, gak dapet anjir. Aduh, ada Zeka sekarang. Come on. Nice. Oke, sendiri Faker gak mati. Rotate. Dapat ultinya. Aduh. Gak ngerti. Waduh. Aduh, ini nanggung banget anjir. No. Faker yang kill.
Beautiful defense from Life Esports. T1 give up on trying to babysit Zeus. So we have to make something happen. Bot lane, not only do they not get the kill themselves, but they lose their mid laner as well. It's a disaster for T1.
Almost losing more than that, as Peanut was very close to being able to just hold carry there for his back and take him out. We'll be able to secure the back, but it's a massive win here for T1, or for Hanwha Life rather, in the defense of T1's dive attempt here. Now watch positioning of Delight here and Viper. As you know, the engage is going towards Viper. The first Q doesn't connect, then he ults, and then the shove back gives Viper the space. So Faker pushes him back, gives him additional distance, plus the flash to get away. And then this is a very Zeka moment. We have Zeri modes, we have Zeka modes. Zeka's like, I think I kill all of them. Unfortunately, rocks and Talia there, but he does put the health bars low so they cannot re-dive. And that's enough to deter us. Residual vision is going to give him the kill.
The W-empowered Q does absurd damage here from Viper, so very nicely done. Able to grab himself a kill as well. And 300 gold is going to be the lead here for Life Esports. A much smaller gold lead for what we think the damage done to this game really is.
And you mentioned it already, the fact that Zeus is kind of out of this game. The main reason Twisted Fate is picked is to make sure that he can get the other top laner out of the game. And he's receiving a taste of his own medicine here.
And also, whenever you look at total gold, a team with a Twisted Fate should always be ahead in total gold, just because you're getting that free gold from CS. But when you're this far behind, you're not getting as much. Still, Zeus is expecting to get a bit of gold from that. But you're supposed to be ahead of the curve on this pick. That is how it functions. That's why it is strong. Any situation where you're behind like this just feels so incredibly punishing.
And it's what we used to experience with Twisted Fate when he was a mid laner as well. The way that you would counter it is by, okay, I'll hold that thought as cease and desist does come in. Seismic shove as well, from over the wall.
kabur.
Survived for way too long, but now Carrier has dove on top of it, trying to avoid the burst fires.
Oke.
Now the
Di wall bagus, FAKER, nice.
They single out the AD carry, and are we certifying it, Wolf?
I mean, I think I will. It's 2 kills here early for the Zeri. And what I was about to mention before this fight broke out is, yeah, the situation here for the Twisted Fate for Zeus is horrible. We haven't really seen any skirmishes, any fights yet around the Zeri. And this is what I was saying, T1's comp can operate. They're so good at early game skirmishes. Esports here getting a little bit ahead of themselves, trying to set up for this dragon. End up losing the fight. Now they will look to try to secure this now. Owner very far away.
Yeah, Carrier is going to get stunned up here. Delight just playing bouncer. We'll try and get Owner out of here. They are not going to be able to find it. And Ox, you're right next to me, dude. And we've got a Chemtech Soul. What do you have to say for yourself?
It is what it is, you know. I mean, I love the confidence from T1. If you're playing Sejuani, Rel as a duo, you don't expect to be engaged on like this. You don't expect to get violted, especially when you're thinking you can just go over the wall. And yes, the fight goes down, but Carrier and Guma, this duo is so mobile. The potential to get onto a pick like Varus is so easy. And they just completely shot Viper out of the fight. He's gone Edge of Night into the Vi, trying to avoid the potential of getting ulted, but I feel like there's a lot of things that can potentially break it.
The ult smite on the way in is it does make it a little bit difficult for that one to work out. But if that button is down, it does at least put a little bit of a roadblock in.
Not the only thing that can, of course, be blocked by this. You're dealing with Twisted Fate, you're dealing with Talia, and there are a lot of things that can break it, as you mentioned, but it's going to be quite useful if you end up getting caught by one of those stray abilities, as they are going to be fishing for you. And Zeri are deceptively quite strong in early game team fights, as we've discussed quite a bit. That's why Zeri moment is kind of a meme, as it happens very often. Doran getting plates here, not as valuable as Guma picking up some additional gold. He now has the static shiv, and T1, despite not really having a top laner, are keeping themselves in this game, especially considering the 2 Drake lead leads to a Chemtech Soul. You actually have some additional time for Zeus to catch up. He's going to cash in that call eventually here as well. And will be somewhat relevant as there's a CC button in these upcoming fights. Faker's not massively behind either, so T1 hanging by a thread, but there's still a threat there.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the saving grace of Dragon, because if it ended up being like a Hextech Soul, I really think the win con is so clear for Honor Life Esports. But in this situation, T1 have bought time, which is so valuable for them. The fact that Guma is this strong already, it just means he has to be respected so much in these team fights. And the thing is, even though there's a lot of engage, even though there's a lot of lockdown from Honor Life Esports, none of it's point and click. You know, you have to catch the Zeri, you have to pick off Guma. If you fail to do so, you will lose the team fight.
That's first turret that goes to Guma as well. You know, Doran was heading down bottom side, opted not to teleport, without a lot of vision.
Oh, there's a flash out. Zeus not risking it. I had a feeling that maybe he was going to be able to walk his way out. Definitely one of the best avoidance of CC abilities, but let's play it safe.
I feel like Zeus's summoners per minute already in the series is so high.
Very high. We need to get that stat. We'll have to get someone on it.
Atlas loves that stat.
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorites. That is efficiency as... Ooh, we're not going to find the grand entrance as he's slowed down as well. Seismic shove is decent. On to Delight. Both of our supports thrown around here a little bit. Carrier not really finding too much, and now does put his ultimate on cooldown.
You can see T1 are priced into forcing these engages right now because they know they do have a hole in the top side. And even though the Herald already went over, if you can have that great engage with Carrier, Guma gets into the fight, slides in. He is so strong right now that you actually can accelerate the Zeri. So while it did miss and it did look a little bit silly for Carrier, you can respect the idea. Now that said, Herald is going to crash here into the mid lane as they try to take out this turret in response.
Yeah, that's going to do a decent chunk of damage. Not going to be able to take that one down just yet.
Great
as far as turrets are concerned, as that top one does fall down. And so we've reached basically gold parity once again. 2 Drakes in comparison to about 500 gold here for
Ini harus
T1.
dapat sih Drake ini T1, kalau nggak dia
Very
bakal selesai
even
banget
here in
ini.
this mid game. I think, like you guys were talking about, the fact that Gumyushi is so strong, it's a clear win condition for T1.
Dan ini bakal bagus banget tag-nya buat soalnya buat Vanwalat yang tag-nya kayak gini. Dapat sini udah fix. Nice. Oke, carry apa? Selamat tadi pasti.
That this combination of Talia and the Vi is not to be trifled with.
And that's part of the issue as well. Life Esports have 2 carries in their composition. If you target one of them like that, if you do that to Zeka in the lead up to or just at the start of a team fight, suddenly you're dealing with 3 tanks and a Varus, and it isn't that on-hit Varus, so the ability to have that sort of sustained damage in a fight isn't there. So Zeka, he will be challenged like that, I feel, throughout this game, and you can see how easy it was for T1 to pull this off here, but the setup really good, and even having Carrier there for the backup, just in case he didn't die in that initial play.
A lot of this is due to vision that T1 set up after that attempted all-in there from Carrier after Herald. They had so many wards set up. Where are Hanwha Life's wards? Where's the vision? Where's the shadowing there for Zeka? He has no one watching out for him, and T1 see their opportunity there. They seize it really well. There was something set up moments ago, and with that death on Zeka and the faster wraparound here for Owner and Carrier towards this dragon, they absolutely can contest. And I feel like with Runins now coming online here for Guma, this is a fight T1 are absolutely happy to take. You think about the Yone, you think about Varus as Pixel want to skirmish early into Azeri before she comes online. She's online so fast. T1 are like, let's snowball this lead. Let's get this Zeri into a position where she's so powerful that nothing matters. Not even to Cassante frontline. Zeus still doesn't have teleport, of course, but does have his ultimate online. And T1 with a faster group. It looks like Hanwha a little bit shy on the contest here. Zeka does have ult, does have flash.
Okay.
They don't have the damage really to start this dragon up without any more control.
Yeah, and the value of the Runans and your 4 melee champions in the team is going to be absolutely monstrous. I think that has to be the game plan. Try and pick apart Uma, maybe try and get some Varus poke down. Both sums available is going to make it difficult, you know. The ult from the Yone easily dodgeable, but actually it looks like T1, you know, kind of shows you the priority when it is
guys, dapat ini udah keren maju T1.
T1 don't even care.
Just look to get pressure to the side lanes,
look to try and cement more for lead, bring Zeus back into the game. Faker is going to teleport out mid, and maybe make a push to this tier 1.
Yeah, they can actually wrap around here and potentially look to dive Viper. T1 just playing the map way better than Hanwha right now, bouncing their way back into this game so quickly. They won't get the turret, but still a great response here from T1, getting a lot of value out of Hanwha, getting soul point for a soul. As mentioned, that just isn't very heavily prioritized here in the LCK or really anywhere.
It's a delayed recovery here from T1, but it is definitely working out. The one sacrifice that they had to make was that soul point. And even though it is Chemtech, it is still a soul, and it is still going to be valuable. We'll see whether that is something that they're going to be able to contest in the next 4 minutes' time. As we can see here, the goal difference really not going too far in either direction. Now T1 finally ahead by, you know, over 1,000. But that doesn't mean that much here at 19.
Yeah, I feel like the team gold isn't as big of a factor as just when you look at the scoreboard and you see the 40 CS lead, the 2 kills in the pocket for Guma. The fact that the gold is 1.5 ahead of T1 when they have a 60 CS deficit in the top lane really says everything. I can't imagine a bot lane going worse, an early game going worse than it did for Zeus, and yet they still have a team gold lead. So Life Esports definitely need to find a way to figure that one out. But it feels like the pressure has gone over to T1. They're the ones setting up vision. They're the ones getting control. On the top side of the map, they'll take away this blue. But when Baron does score in 30 seconds, they're the ones with vision in the area. And I think something that's a big aspect of this composition is the ability just to get picks. You know, the engage potential from a lot of these champions, but also, you know, things like the Talia and the Vi,
sebenarnya bawah ya tadi T1 ngelepas salt tuh. Mungkin nggak tahu bawahnya ada bawahnya buat si siapa sih namanya, buat si Jerry-nya lumayan supaya fair. Ya senang banget ya kan. Cuma nih masalahnya yang dilepas tuh soul point sih. Agak ngeri. Ya animasi yang lucu banget ya.
Death cap almost done here for Faker as well. Has gone that second item here. This Talia does massive amounts of damage, especially to turrets and sides as well. So T1, they're not letting go of this game anytime soon. And Hanwha Life need to win the decisive team fight with a strong re-engage with the Rel Yone. Or T1 may just run away with this despite not really having a top laner. And what a demoralizing loss it would be for Hanwha to start this series off with such a great start, such a dominant top performance, or lane swap leading to a top deficit. and then to still lose out in the mid game.
And I feel like we're kind of on the cusp of some big
pengen
spikes
speedrun
coming
bareng
in
ya,
for
T1 ya?
T1, which will really be the signal to starting to look for, you know, either a setup to potentially get this Baron, or just a team fight in general. We're 2 minutes away from that Dragon, which would be Soul. And Faker's very close to having that runs completed, and Zeus also close to having the rapid fire cannon finish. Had just stacked up his coal. Second item comes in for Owner, so a lot of strength across the board. And I think it's a clear signal that will make something of this next Dragon fight.
Yep, you can see the Last Whisper also done for Gumayushi, so he's heading towards that Lord Doms as item number 3. If he does manage to get that before the next big fight, then my goodness, he is going to be so much stronger. You can see 2 items done for Viper. Does have his tier still stacking, wants to put that Muramana together, but that feels like a bit of a distant dream here, especially if we're talking about the context of a fight in 1.5 minutes on this next Dragon. There is that death gap that we were talking about here for Faker has now been built.
Showed the two-level lead, experience lead here for Doran into Zeus, but they both made the same impact in this game, which is basically nothing. So it doesn't actually necessarily matter when T1 are winning everywhere else. And it's the Vitalia that got them back into this game so heavily. It's Zeus, who's just kind of been taking the waves in the top lane, but they don't need him to win these fights necessarily. Hanwha Life aren't able to actually force fights on their terms or force T1 to take fights where they would really need Zeus on a flank, need Zeus to set up that CC. Just losing them front to back because Doran hasn't really been impactful in this game either. We need to see Hanwha Life win a decisive 5v5 fight either on this Baron or on this Soul fight. Otherwise, I think T1 just win this one. It's really looking like they have firm control, and Hanwha Life need to see something big from them.
Si Jerry bisa dijagain nih.
We are now gearing up
Menang harusnya
for
warnanya.
this 4th Dragon of the game. 28 seconds until
Masalahnya
that one
tapi
does spawn.
semua sih
T1 fresh
si
off a
Hanwha Life
reset. Hanwha Life looking to try and grab some more items for themselves as well. An elixir of iron in the back pocket for Doran. He knows this fight's going to be important. He's going to have to show why he was the one given the advantage in the early game.
Yeah, everyone is setting up for this, and I think a big thing with Hanwha Life when they were having their successes early in the game, they were kind of chaining summon abilities together, you know, taking Faker's flash, taking Zeus' sums. Everything's up for T1, and when, you know, the Hanwha Life esports composition wants to gap close, wants to commit these big ultimates like the Yones, you really will feel frustrated if Guma simply flashes away from it. So I think this is definitely giving an edge over the T1. Hanwha Life esports are on the objective.
Yeah, started this one up. Carrier on a flank angle.
Wah, gak dapat ini.
Okay,
FAKER nice. Nice wall, nice wall.
He's just going to try and just...
Okay.
Alhamdulillah, tahun ini saya bisa.
Kelewat kan. Oke, Guma menang. Guma bantai. Naganya gak dapet anjay. Gak apa. Kita menang tim guys, dapat darah. Oke, Guma kill 1. FAKER juga kill 1. Mereka tapi gak dapet naganya, cok. Ini kan gak lama.
This fight should be ours. Easy to take if Carrier gets the engage. He doesn't. Now they get more than just the team fight. They're looking for Baron.
Yeah, and you know, Pina is still up and available, does have flash, does have smite.
Ini
He's
harusnya dapat.
available for Zeka and Doran, but the Baron is going down so fast.
Vipernya, gangguin Vipernya.
Gangguin
Vipernya, oke dapat aman. Oner. Oke, untung ada FAKER aja. Untung FAKER yang Yohania. Nice.
And that is the prize they were looking for on the back of that Dragon fight.
Mereka gak ada yang mati, mereka kill junglernya.
And this setup was so good, you know, the wall comes in for some disruption, but mainly Carrier on this flank angle, and with everyone from Hanwha Life esports in the pit.
Mereka udah gak dapet soul sih, tapi ini apa, jarinya udah pet mati nih.
Zeka gets deleted by that Vi combo, and suddenly you only have Vi, you only have this poke Varus who's pumping damage into this Vi. Isn't really doing that much, while Guma is freeing the whole time. And here, the patience, they were waiting for Pina to move forward. Carrier forces the flash.
Ini ngeri banget nih, sejauhnya tiba-tiba maju gitu.
Udah merinding, cok. Bisa di-steal. Close to a smite range.
And you can see the problems in the composition here for Hanwha Life. You know, even with the setup they have, is Doran is a huge brick wall. But when you're playing Lethality Varus, you can't utilize that very much. It's not very easy to actually use Doran to get poke off, even when you have control over the objective. They just hunkered down on the Dragon itself, but didn't leave themselves any outs. Viper doing very little damage in that fight. And T1 now with Baron here ripping through these turrets.
The real difficulty at Weaver's Wall Just used there by FAKER.
Let's go T1, gila banget ya ini.
Gold
di perutnya gede banget ya, 7.000.
It is still 7,000 gold, approximately the lead here for T1. This amount of recovery, kind of unprecedented. There is a soul, which is still stats here for Hummer Life, but T1 with the Baron, he should be able to get even more of these items. Seismic shot going to be picked up once again.
Santai mati. Aduh. Kena ulti. Oh, nice Zeus.
He's going to have to get out of there.
Oke, Oner keras main bagus. Nice. Dilat mati. Oner kabur. Doran sekarat. Oke, lumayan dapat satu.
And they've already gotten rid of the horse.
There's just not enough sustained damage in this composition for Hanwha, even with the re-engage. As you're looking at Poke,
ini udah terlalu sakit sih T1-nya ini.
There's no major.
Jadi si soalnya pun ketembus sih.
There's no real AD carry, not traditionally anyways here for Viper.
Hati.
Yeah, Seismic Shove is going to connect onto Doran as he teleports in. That is not the warm welcome that he was wanting.
Wah, gila
as
nih,
he looks
keras
to try
banget
and help out his teammates.
Zeri, Guma.
Guma usually taking matters into his own hands as the
Oke,
turret will
dapat
be
turret.
taken down. That is his
Worth it,
prize.
dari turret sama ulti.
This is a point where it starts to look so suffocating for Honor Life Esports, where every time they're looking for this engage angle, they're just being marked, and it just feels like it's so hard. Someone goes in, but there's the Unraveled Earth, which blocks all those dashes. When they look for an angle, look how untungnya kena. We see Zeka being here.
Bukan Zeri, itu kena Zeri
He knows
bener-bener
the
tadi ya.
threat that can come out from the opposite side. Owner goes for an ult on the Rel, and it's completely
Maksudnya
fine,
Zeri
but
kalau
everyone on
kena.
Life Esports knows if they step even a step too
Kalau
far,
Zeri yang kena
as
udah
we saw
hancur.
happen with Delight, you just get deleted. There's
Apalagi
so
yang
much
bodohnya
lockdown,
si
so much
Viper lah udah.
preventative control for the side of T1, and when you're in a deficit, it is just suffocating.
Alright, do you want the Hopium, guys?
Oke, T1 udah menang lane banget ini. Mereka bisa ambil Elder atasnya.
And sometimes you just have to bring your spatula and see what you can get done.
Well, you know, this time, if Hanwha Life just grab onto that dragon and hold on tight, and see if Viper can layer that damage too with the smite, and they look for the 50-50 on that one. Maybe the Varus damage will come through with the Elder executes, but I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't see it. I don't think they even get the chance to really contest too much if T1 play this well. They've already got vision set up so well all around this pit. FAKER coming back with Crypt Bloom.
Oh man, that is a strong 3-item spike.
3 item, Cok.
It is just looking so rough.
The bigger thing for me is obviously we talked about Guma being given a lot of extra XP, but currently he's level 16 and Viper just hit level 14. Guma's the highest level in the game and nearly has 4 items completed. Was obviously hoping to get IE in before this dragon fight, but regardless, this Zeri is ridiculously strong.
Tapi ini mereka gak boleh kalah naganya, Cok. Naga kali ini. Kalau T1 kalah naga ini.
This mid push through here, some of this
Bisa di
vision clear
pushback
for
balik nih
Hanwha
sama
is
si
useful. It is very important to do. You know, cross your T's here, dot your I's as best as you can before this fight, but it's really going to be about how the fight occurs, how it actually stacks up, because as you mentioned, Zeri nearly on 4 items here, Guma so massively ahead. If you don't lock this guy down and kill him instantly, no one will ever match his damage. Not a Yone, not a lethality Varus here, not in a straight up 5v5. If they could fight in neutral, if Viper can hit a few arrows here before the fight breaks out, especially onto FAKER or Guma, there may be a world that's going to pick up that 4th item now. You have to imagine.
Yeah, just waiting the last couple of seconds here. I believe the Infinity Edge will be coming in though. And that is... Boris, where is it at, man? Come on, hurry it up. Oh my goodness. He's in the back room.
Guys, got a game going, please.
There it is. Waiting. Oh, okay, it's going to be the quick blades to come in. And of course, that is what's the very scene alongside
ketika gua tukeran dikit.
I just get excited. I see a crit cloak and I see a BS sword. My brain just says Infinity Edge.
It's locked in, you know, that's what you assume it's going to be. And now...
No, Onernya! No!
2 seconds before the Elder!
Oh,
and this is one of the issues, you know, they waited for the IE, but it took so much time, they didn't have presence on the map. Honor Life Esports set a trap, and because T1 are late there, Boris holding them back, it means they don't have a jungler now.
Doran can do his work, and this time, it makes sense to sit on Dragon and have Doran hold the angle here. Now he's going to have to wrap around. No 50-50 with no smite.
Exactly, let's see what T1 can do. They're going to have to try and fight this to avoid losing the Elder. There's a seismic shove, and they are going to even out the numbers.
Dorannya mati, nice.
Okay, survives for a very long time, but then
Guma masuk. Anjir, mereka udah di tengah gini. Ada apa? Guma nice. Let's go. Guma nice.
Take a double as well for Gumayushi, and it's now only Viper left with this
dapat.
buff. And I don't think they care.
Let's go, FAKER.
He's just going to throw
Let's go.
Even Elder is isn't enough. T1, they lose the dragon. It seems like it's going to be doable, but they handle the fight. They managed to lock them down. The health on Guma was so close to the extra threshold, but not quite there. And Viper just cannot do enough.
Viper can't do enough. He doesn't have the time. He's playing the Aldivaris here, and even with the miracle of Owner just stepping forward there and getting caught, Life cannot take the Elder fight. They do end up getting the dragon. It's a close one there, despite it being going to be smite. Peanut secures it, but the engage is straight into a Talia. We talk about the value of those rocks, the shoves into a composition like this all the time. He ends up getting serious work done now. Hanwha Life to try to contest this Baron. It's already gone. Absolutely gone. There's easy, a lot of these champions for T1 can escape over. So they just burn double TP and don't get anything for it. The Elder buffs have all gone. And now T1 have an over 10,000 gold lead and the Baron in pocket. And see the replay.
Doran
gets brutalized here, and so there's no front line anymore for when the Elder does go down. And Hanwha Life had to sacrifice him here.
Ini saya udah ngeri banget T1 Cok di tengah-tengah kayak gini kan. Si Ralnya masuk, ultinya Catering Strike-nya.
Faker, he's not caught. It's the triple shove into the knockup
there
from Carrier. And without that passage of play, it's very likely Viper does get the damage done, hits another rotation of abilities, and then the Elder finishes them off. But Faker's positioning there so crisp, holds the angle. Zeka doesn't look for the one target, he wants 3, but it puts him and his team in shoves range. And Hanwha Life dropped the ball there, 10,000 gold now behind.
And you know, Zeka was so close to hitting Guma with
Dan
that
gua agak
ultimate. And he was so
T1
close
bisa
to going
survive
down
dari
without that. It was an easy secure. I mean, I'm not sure that would have been enough with Zeus and Faker still standing, but definitely going to regret the positioning of that ultimate just a little bit off there. And now dealing with the Baron, we already saw how problematic this is for Hanwha Life Esports competition, but the lead has just gotten bigger.
Yeah, and
Terus
now
butuh GA
the mid
buat
lane,
si
they have
kayaknya
taken
bikin GA deh
care of
sekarang
it
si
somewhat, but still
Guma.
super minions will be making their way down, and for the next minute and a half, T1 will be able to put on so much pressure. Twisted Fate already in there. Q just barely going to go wide there for Doran, hunting for any sort of way to find themselves an advantage. But every single time we've been into a team fight, it's just been T1 the whole way through. The difference between this first game and the previous series that we saw from Hanwha Life Esports is night and day, as there is the weakest wall from Faker.
Nice wall.
Just going to put that one up to try and get some more damage down. You can see
tapi gak
Peanut just standing in front, trying to keep this turret alive. As Destiny going to be used here. Move Zeus back into the mid lane as well, and he's just running Zeka around.
Gila keras banget ini mereka.
He's playing a
batu-batu gini anjir.
Twisted Fate very well until now he actually has the eco. Now he has the lead. Is sitting on 3.5 items here, and it's just being a side lane threat. We'll just go straight to top lane here. Rinse and repeat.
Tapi ini masih bisa
and
menang
dealing with
sebenarnya
this Twisted Fate
si
so frustrating here for
Hanwha
Life. Now Hanwha Life may be able to buy enough time here. This inhibitor's up
T1
in
butuh
2 minutes
benar-benar
just
menang
before the Elder. They may get another opportunity to flip for Elder a second time, but I don't think they're going to get that lucky pick onto Owner. And the itemization, as you mentioned, and the gold lead here for T1 is so much larger than it was before.
Tadi aja gak ada Owner,
Once
mungkin bisa
again,
menang kalau ada Owner ya.
You gotta lock this guy down. He's got
Oke,
GA, you gotta
Faker
kill him
minta
twice.
nice.
Yeah, he just got GA,
That's
and
6
Faker
items.
just got Zonya's.
Zeri dapat GA.
Also has GA.
Iya, Zeri dapat GA, nice. Udah ini aman mereka war harusnya. Zeri ada GA, Faker ada stasis.
Flash is gonna come up soon. Everything is stacked against Hanwha Life Esports right now. They really need a miracle situation.
They got one last time and it wasn't enough.
Yeah, it still wasn't enough there. You know, getting the Elder and still losing the fight.
Itu
You
kejadian
know,
banget
it
mereka
just
bisa
happens occasionally when the team get the Elder,
nge-select.
they're so low on HP, but it just felt like even cards up, it just wasn't enough there.
Yeah, and when Faker hits a 3-man seismic shove, with the fact that everyone is melee on this Hanwha Life Esports squad, the Talia value is very high, but hitting those is not something that happens every day.
And I want to give credit to Guma, a player we often criticize for not playing Zeri. We don't criticize his play on it all too much. He hasn't looked as comfortable as players like Peas or Viper, right? But given the opportunity to play it here and giving the agency those 2 kills in the early game, he has run away with it. His positioning has been good. He's deathless here in this game. Full itemization, as mentioned, level 18 now. And the guy has absolutely played this to a T. And I think shutting up a lot of the haters of people saying that this guy just can't play Zeri. He doesn't, but he will. And when he does, you know, in a critical best of 5 like this, he comes up big.
Sekarang Owner udah mulai online lagi
You know,
nih.
it's Carrier playing Rakan
Meskipun
as
tadi
well.
di
I don't
ini
think he played
kalah.
Rakan once during the regular season either. This feels a little bit like a leaf out of Hanwha Life Esports' book as far as their favorite champions here on the bottom side. And T1 with a little bit of anything you can do, we can do better in this particular game at least. Feels a little bit results based, or what is it? What is it?
Based? Outcome focused assessment.
No,
we don't do results based analysis over here.
No, we don't.
Only outcome focused assessments.
Very against that, but yes.
Oke, selama si Owner gak kecelek lagi ya.
Very good.
Jangan sampai Owner kecelek lagi, Cok.
And he's played so many. He's played 6 unique champions in
Janggal
playoffs.
keramat apa
So
sih?
he is 7th.
Kebot keramat itu tuh.
Oh, okay.
No!
Looking for that opportunity, gets into the back line.
Oke.
They dive on
Masuk.
He's able to get himself out. Now 1v1ing and he finds it.
Nice.
There's the ulti.
Favornya dikit lagi. Aduh, Favornya gak mati. Ownernya mati dong.
Owner's going to be the next to go down. Into the GA is now Doran is just playing bodyguard and they couldn't do it. They killed him so many times.
Owner
that time they weren't able to get there.
Owner again is picked here before the Elder, and it's a really nice fight here for Hanwha Life, but
Aduh, Ownernya mati dulu. Kenapa Owner harus naikin dulu, anjir?
Do they need?
I mean, we
Mana
already
Viper gak
won
mati
the
pula.
obituary. We were memeing about Carrier and stuff. We were talking about Gumasari.
I mean,
I was ready for game 2.
They threw so much at Viper. I think they just expected him to die, and I'm gonna be honest, I
Dapat
did
bunti
too.
pula mereka,
I
Cok.
ulted, he got Rakan ulted, he flashes away for a TF to turn onto him.
Aduh, ini agak
And he
nekat
just
sih itu.
manages to fight his way out.
Ini Ownernya
It's
agak nekat
crazy that he
tuh.
ends up living this, but we see him
Itu kalau
end up
Vipernya mati
getting
sini
the
bagus.
Edge Knight procs here.
Ini masih agak jauh
They
tuh.
throw all the CC onto him, the flash is good. And then this loses the
my
1v1
God.
there, but then look at Zeka, the ult comes in, the CC, the
Viper dikit
peel.
lagi mati. Itu kalau Viper mati udah aman, Cok.
The re-engage there from Delight
Si
as
Guma
well.
tinggal
And I
masuk-masuk
really
aja itu.
just don't feel like you have to pick the Varus in this composition. You can slow play this. You got a Talia burn through that health on Doran, push the light back in front to back, and you have a full item build
menang
Zeri.
Baron pula,
It's extremely
Cok.
fed. Level 18 has been for a while.
Let's go
Rely
T1,
on your
please.
comp. You don't have to pick just because you have buy. You can. But this comp is so good at re-engage, was what we talked about in the draft. I didn't think it was going to be relevant in this game because T1 had a 10,000
mereka
gold
ngelakuin
lead.
Baron emang
But
bagus sih,
now,
benar.
the tables have
Mereka
turned.
masuk Baron bisa mati juga sih,
They
kayaknya.
minimized that gold lead a little bit, but they're going to get a decent amount of map
Dari
control out of this Baron and Elder. With all these
dominasi
turrets still up, it's not game ending.
sejauh
But
mungkin
Hanwha
dulu
Life
sekarang.
back in the driver's seat.
Yeah, they're going to be able to get a lot off this, but
This
the
is
key thing...
Exodia. They've picked up everything. I mean,
It
we
is.
forgot about the Soul.
Shit,
Because that was
man.
years ago.
The big thing, though, is that T1 pushed all the waves out as much as they can. There's only a minute 15 on the Elder. They haven't even taken mid tier 1 yet,
si Ownernya
so
mati
they don't
dulu
actually
sebelum
have that
naga,
much time to make
anjir.
use of these. They really need to start knocking on towers as quick as possible, and T1 have space to give, you know? Obviously, losing towers is never great, but it's going to be a while before they start getting up to your inhibitor towers. If they can thin out the wave, you know, they
KN
have
ya.
Talia, they have the W from Zeri to help out.
Eldernya masih 1
They
menit
might be able to
lagi.
defend their inhibitors
Baron
at
masih
least
lama
until the
pula.
Elder drops.
Ini bisa tembus sampai
Yeah,
game
you have
better
to be
ini.
so careful about trying to look for an engage here as T1. Don't think it's going to be well faded for
Gila.
Carrier just because of the Elder burn.
Jadi gak kerasa
Gonna
dong
get
damage-nya.
executed so quickly if he gets hit by a few of these arrows from Viper.
Aduh.
And he's so careful about
Udah
looking for a
mau
flank.
menang
Carrier's
satu
fishing.
game, Cok.
We have to remember as well that T1, they don't have a lot of range either as far as defending
Okay,
against
nice,
these Baron up
push.
siege minions.
Dorong sejauh mungkin lainnya.
Not
Supaya
something
gak
that we've
pada
had to talk
semua.
about really either, as Hanwha Life will now move towards this inner
Gak
turret.
apa, bawah lepas
There's
gak apa.
splitting. We are getting back to even territory.
Nice
The
wall,
Weaver's
Faker.
wall.
Nice wall, nice wall. Aduh, gak ada follow up attack-nya. Dia jauh ya jarinya ya.
Open the base, as like you say, it could be a trade of inhibitor turrets, but
Oke,
Hanwha
jadi
Life Esports, it doesn't look
oh,
like
ini bisa
they're
tembus
stopping.
anjir ke dalam.
As this Elder is
Oke, 5
still
detik lagi, 5
taking
detik lagi.
down. Another 5 seconds on that.
Aduh, mereka udah akan pick off.
Into the back line goes Curry, he tries to find
Guma,
that
Guma,
quick
Guma.
he's permanently frosted
Guma, make something, Guma.
and taken down. The deletion on 2 members, is that enough for the end of the game? I don't think so. As Hanwha Life Esports, they don't think so either.
Yeah, so many
Okay,
cooldowns
okay.
burned there.
Nanti
They have
mereka
to
nge-reset.
respect the Zeri. Guma's still such a threat with Flash available, with GA available. They will actually
Dewa
look to
juga dapat
reset
tuh.
the back of this. Doran's
Tower
going to
bawah
TP
nih.
in. They want
Not
to
bad,
look
not
for the
bad.
end
They want to
here.
end. They want to end. They don't want to deal with that Weaver's Wall anymore. Or rather, the
No, Zeus. Ah, selamat Zeus.
Able to get
Oke,
out of
Zeus
the
selamat.
Zeus, he did have that flash available. As there's the teleport back in. Owner is going to be
Guma,
CC'd as
Guma.
well, as he's got
Ownernya masuk, aduh mati ownernya.
T1 are just running in one after the other. The destiny is
Ah,
going to be
Guma.
populating their destiny.
Ah, udah,
It's
Cok.
one dead Nexus.
Ah.
0-1 in the series. Hanwha Life Esports were down 11,000 gold, and they will kill the Nexus here in game 1.
You know what? I think I'll take one, please.
Yes,
Dua kali. Ownernya mati sebelum Elder.
Early game, the lane swap puts Zeus out of the game.
Yeah.
Seems doomed, but some really good plays from Faker. get
udah mau bener satu game udah cok.
2 kills on the Zeri. They win the subsequent fights. They end up getting pretty large advantages, then turn that into a massive gold lead. Even with owner's death, they win the fight on Elder. It seems doomed. But another all-in on the Viper fails, and then Hanwha Life spin it again. Every moment in this game, it felt like there was a clear winner. There was a clear
cuma si FAKER yang mati,
advantage.
tapi kalau misalnya ada owner pas sebagai objektif kan, FAKER-nya kaya, Gumanya kaya, tapi gak ada owner pas objektif tuh.
What a roller coaster! And I feel like, you know, if you got all of that in a whole series, you'd feel satisfied. And we got that in one game.
Itu mau bener aja,
We got the falling behind from an early lead, and then suddenly Zeri moments coming out, and then everything falling apart. We got an Elder buff losing a fight, and then somehow managing to bounce back from the deficit they were in. Absolute madness. And yeah, it's just game one. And I think he won a lot to unpack from that. I mean, I feel like for both teams, so much to unpack for that. We've got a whole series ahead of us, and they really need to be thinking, okay, what's the takeaway, what the change is this potentially going to be an issue for Zayas throughout the series, these lane swaps?
I mean, Viper is just ridiculous on Varus. His late game lethality Varus, it bothers me how good he is at playing out late game fights, because he was getting focused and targeted. It felt like it was over. And then he, in that last fight, being able to avoid so much and then carry it through. We are going to need one heck of a rest before we get to game number 2, but I hope this series stays like this. Short break, and then the space will break
Kalau T1 agak main santai dulu gitu kan. Tapi emang mereka cepat-cepat ini Vipernya gitu kalau begitu ketemu, tapi ya shit man. Ini kalau misalnya naga mereka gak dari awal gak kalah mulu nih misalnya, terus gak jadi Elder nih, mungkin mereka bisa menang, soalnya gak jadi Elder situnya, dan mereka udah menang gol gitu kan, tinggal fokus ke Baron aja, nyicil-nyicilin naga satu-satuan, udah menjadi Elder. Dan nah ini nih ke pick off 2 kali. Meskipun udah cakep banget pelangnya, ini gue udah pasrah ya aja. Lihat FAKER gue mas selamat. Comeback. Sayangnya belum rezeki cok, yang satu cok. Ini dia sih belum udah nge-follow up sih, udah kencang nge-follow up si Oner buat Viper. Cuman Vipernya selamat anjir, banyak banget yang banyak banget sama si bodyguard dia cok.
아따트 라인 들어갈 때 라인 들어갈 때 내가 EQ 플레이 최대한 볼게. 야 연애 스페 노플. 나 공식 탱 탔어 좀만 천천히 해. 야 바이.
Pergi banget ini cok. Gue kesel liat dia kemarin yang kalah 3-0. Please T1.
타워 깰수 있냐? 타워 쳐보자. 깨자. 내가 제리랑 싸울게. 야 스페 걸어. 야 제리 봐줘.
Ini T1 gak ada yang tanker sama sekali, misalnya itu kalau mau jati susah sih mereka emang ngebukanya.
잡아. 나이스. 야 집중해. 야 똑같아. 다음번에 똑같아.
Oke, apa next game. Aduh. Gila gua. Ayo. Sedih banget, cok. Itu kalau misalnya at least Baronnya tuh bisa 50, Elder tuh bisa 50-50 gitu, ngadu smite kan. Karena smite Peanut sama Oner tuh ya nggak sih, ini Canyon emang lebih ngeri gitu. Apalagi si Peanutnya kan makanya si Joani kan, bukan si Shattering Strike tapi si Cyril gitu kan. Cuman ya 2 kali cowok mati jauh sama Elder cowok. Bener-bener gak bisa di tarungin itu Eldernya anjay. Udah pasti menang buat Hanwha Life. Oke. Satu game ya, ada 3 game guys. Oke. Ada 3, masih ada harus 3 kali menang lah intinya gitu lah. Jadi bisa main 5 game, bisa main 4 game, bisa main 3 game. Hide on bush. Kalau kalian nggak tahu hide on bush itu siapa, itu FAKER guys. Hide on bush tuh. Mereka pakai ini FAKER ya. Ini bagus sih. Kok gue kayak ngelainin gitu ya anjing. tapi gue kadang-kadang emang data PDD sih kalau mau main league. Buat lihat data, kita bisa lihat data dari FAKER juga. apa sih history match FAKER segala macam portfolio ada gue di sana. Kecuali kalau mereka bikin akun smurf yang private ya, itu baru gue gak rata-rata orang nggak tahu. Gak masuk banget ya iklannya sama musiknya. Mau senyum seperti apapun juga tetap tidak bisa mengobati ini, cok. Kesakitan melihat game 1 anjir, tipis banget, cok. Alhamdulillah. Mana nih? Gue baru tahu ada cincin juara LCK. Gue belum ikutin nama LCK sih sebenarnya, baru-baru ini. Wow, keren sih punya gituan ya. Apalagi kalau kayak dapat gituan dari menang kejuaraan, wah juara LCK.
2명, 3명이서 이제 따로따로 원래 같이 했다가 이제 처음 하는 시즌이었는데 처음 했을 때는 이제 그래도 좀 서로 해왔던 게 있다 보니까 이제 그런 부분에서 같이 타협점을 찾는 게 좀
nih si Manolaf ini dari tim yang berbeda-beda sih.
호흡이 조금
잘
안 맞거나 좀 소통 부분에서는 좀 잘 안 됐던 것 같은데.
Tapi emang pemainnya kuat-kuat sih, ada Delight,
있었지만
ada Zeka,
잘하는 선수들인 만큼
Pinat, ada Genji.
다 같이 노력해서 여기까지 올라온 게 굉장히 의미가 있다고
Pagi ini
생각합니다.
Viper, si Viper Jawa. Dia ada late game emang. Mau kalah gua pun masih bisa carry loh.
팀합은 게임을 하면 할수록 좀 잘 맞아갔던 것 같고 서로 노력을 많이 해서 지금 자신이 있는 상태입니다.
그 한 번만 진짜 잘하면 우승할 수 있다 생각해서 그냥 긴장 안 하고 진짜 할 수 있는 거 다 하면서 꼭 잘했으면 좋겠습니다.
Nunggu yang T1 ya. Ini masih yang itu T1.
결국에 이런 식의 싸움이 되면 웃는 건 하나 생명이.
Ini kayak kemarin ya. Lawan DK.
LCK에서 꼭 잘하는 모습 보여드리고 싶었는데 이번에 보여드릴 수 있게 되는 계기가 될 수 있으면 꼭 좋겠고 꼭 우승해서 보답해드리고 싶네요, 팬분들한테.
항상 응원해 주셔서 감사하고 그 응원에 보답할 수 있도록 좋은 경기력 보여드리겠습니다. 항상 응원해 주시는 팬분들 감사드린다고 전하고 싶고 꼭 우승으로 보답드리고 싶고 노력 많이 하겠습니다. 이제 시즌 중간중간에 어려운 상황이 많이 왔었는데 그때마다 변함없이 응원해주신 팬분들 덕분에 이 자리까지 오게 된 것 같고 너무 감사드리고 끝까지 최선을 다해서 좋은 결과 선물해드리겠습니다. 스프링 시즌 끝까지 응원해주셔서 정말 감사하고 올라가고 싶었던 무대이니만큼 좋은 모습을 팬분들께
보여드리고 kita akan nonton bagian T1 yang ngomong-ngomong.
우승하고 싶습니다.
Fighting. T1 fighting. Mirip FAKER nih kita si Viper ya. Dikit banget. Berarti mukanya ya.
내가 없는 곳에서 최강을 논하지 말라. 지지율이 많이 올라갈 것으로 예상돼요.
베스트게이 최소의 3,000킬입니다.
What was that? Oke, lihat FAKER itu. Oke, game 2, let's go please. Aduh. Tik satu aja tanker supaya bisa agak maju gitu kalau lagi objektif.
Hello and welcome back to the desk here after game number 1. That was insane at that game number 1. It was so back and forth. We thought Life Esports were definitely winning, and then we thought T1 were winning, and then Life Esports definitely won in the end.
So we're sitting in the green room, right? And I swear about 5 times we're like, okay, pack it up, it's done. For both teams! It just kept going back and forth!
We were just shouting all the time.
Level, late swap, donezo. 5k down, Duns are 11k down, surely that'll be it. Elder, it just kept going.
Iya sih, ini bener-bener naik turun banget aja.
Losing our minds at that game, as you can probably tell. Let's talk about the draft.
Zeus
We got a lot to get
kasih
through here. We did have a
jadi
pretty interesting one, obviously highlighted by the fact that Guma actually picked up the Zeri here for the first time in a while.
Yeah,
Juga dapat Eldar. Dapat Eldar tapi Zeus FAKER sama Guma selamat naik lagi. Terus Oner ke pick off lagi, turun lagi. Turun aja bakal. Nggak naik lagi.
Ends up costing T1 a fight later on as he does get goal carded. And on the other end, the Zeri pickup I think is really surprising here, given that T1 hasn't really been able to utilize it that well. I think Guma did actually have a good game on it.
Ini kalau misalnya dapat Nautilus bagus ini.
But I feel like his performance was where it needed to be for the team to perform. But they got surprised, Huni.
Yeah, I mean, the lane swap, it actually just came through. It was like actually prepared for T1 at all. I mean, that's why from the lane swap, it was like really, like they didn't know what to do. I mean, the thing is like before the lane swap actually is explaining started, the HLE, they prepare the lane swap, but the thing is like they are having the losing mid lane, and also the fact that the TF, even though you're down gold, you could still be useful. That was like whole point. And that's why the T1, I think here, they are trying to block the top wave, trying to like actually, well, from here, it's just like Zeus just got chunked so hard from just a level 1, not be able to just like keep staying in the lane. That makes undefendable top lane. But T1 actually managed to, like, you are trying to bait the they checked the ult, they checked the lane, and they look into where the carrier is trying to press B, but he was getting cancelled, and he's trying to come top. But the thing is, like, here, if they want to defend top, the owner had to be there.
What is really big here as well is that Doran
emang dia nge-follow up-nya bakal kenceng kalau kayak itu, cuman durability-nya nggak sekuat dia kalau pakai attack, dia bisa 1v5 gitu kan.
And LEC, so it shouldn't come as a complete surprise, but the response from T1 really showed that they weren't ready for this.
Kayaknya kurang mata kan tadi.
Fought their way back into the game through, I think, particularly the combination of the Talia and the Zeri didn't end up mattering.
Didn't end up mattering too much. We do have to talk about a bit of what happened at the end of the game. There were way too many things to highlight everything, but we had multiple Elder Drakes and crazy back and forth moments. Owner, of course, getting caught in this one. And it was a big deal. Obviously, T1 eventually did win this team fight as well. After with a crazy 3-man seismic shove from FAKER. And then we had this fight.
This is where T1 thinks they can end the game. Gold card not going the right way. Means that Zeus dies. Means that Viper lives, and with that, Elder ends up going over. That's kind of the butterfly effect that then leads to T1 losing with the lead that they had.
Yeah, I mean, 2 times in a row, Elder Baron, that actually makes the where actually came back from HLE there.
Yeah, it was quite a big deal, guys. We do have the player of the game to see who did the best on the side of Humble Life Esports. I feel like there were multiple different people you could have gone for, but one guy kind of stood out in our minds, and it was Viper, who, you know, he wasn't a huge standout, but the way he just survived a lot of the times in crazy moments was pretty
impactful. Iya sih, dia di early pun
Coming
udah
into
jadi
the
pick
series
off ya,
was Viper
udah
and
di
the Light,
geng
and I
sama
think
4 orang.
they delivered here in this first series on a carry like Varus in particular. It's so easy to just end up back in his Edge of Night. I swear, it like saved his life.
Ini sih yang paling berbahaya ya.
Rushed that first item
Ketika kalahan T1.
ended up being a huge hit from FAKER.
Yeah, I mean, it's really incredible. Like, the game was like decent, consistent. I mean, it was like so volatile, but Viper managed to just like actually not dying this much.
Yeah, and you see that he does get 12 out of 14, and we did have some shoutouts, 1 to
Peanut cuma
Zeka
satu ini, gue
and
kira
1
Peanut
into the
sama
jungle
Zeka.
as well. So that was game number 1 that eventually did go the way of Humble Life Esports. Let's see what the rest of the series has in store as we go back to the casters.
Okay, let's go game 2. Please, T1. Jangan kalah lagi, T1. Please.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And I think we're ready. Are we ready? Are we ready for game 2?
I think I'm ready.
I think we've taken sufficient rest. We'll vote for Zeka, I think.
Okay,
probably more aimed at bodyguarding
let's just hear out like the one highlight where he shot FAKER. There were 2 highlights in that
mau Oner masuk,
for one where he shoots FAKER.
Zeus masuk pun itu
Zeka saves him.
3 di belakangnya masih lama.
I'm just saying. I thought Zeka had some fantastic ults in the late game and was super clutch and super instrumental in coming back. Viper, I think, was the most consistent player though for Humble Life across the entire game. Positioning, damage output, we talked about it. It was between the 2 of them for me. Ultimately ended up going with Zeka. The Peanut vote, I think, also decent for what he
was able to accomplish in the early game. But the draft is going to have to change a lot here for T1. They have blue side now, and we'll see what that is going to give us.
And we thought that blue side was going to be an advantage for T1, as we saw in the previous series, but it was back-to-back-to-back red side victories for Humble Life. So not out of the woods just yet, although they are out of the Maokai woods, as he is going to be banned away. The Zeri taken away as well, as Guma's like, nah, I'm done with this champion. Can't carry hard enough late game, I guess.
So a lot of 80 carry bans, but you still have Kalista open, you still have Senna open, you still have Lucian open. There's a lot of things still available on the bans thinning out, so with Nautilus banned away, at this point, what are Hunter Life Esports going to remove? Like, there's going to be countless things up and available. Rek'Sai is still on the card.
Oh,
If you ban Senna here, they can pick Kalista, but the Viper has been okay with playing the Varus into the Kalista. Gonna be the Senna again, but remember, T1 have first picked this Senna when available many times, even against Humble Life, failed when Carry has been pushed off of these top tier picks. So not only is banned, that's fine, but that means he doesn't get to play it. Now the Tom Kench removed here, we have not seen Carry find the same level of success when he doesn't have either of these picks with Guma's Senna. Senna for Guma, by the way, 10-1 this season. An incredible pick for him. It's his most played, in fact, leading into this series.
What was the last time he lost on this Senna, though? That was in the last series against Humble Life Esports in exactly this situation where Carrier was forced to pick something else. In that case, it was the Scion. We'll see what he has this time around as Azir is locked in. I was really expecting just Sejuani Rek'Sai straight out of the gate here for Humble Life.
I think definitely the Rek'Sai. I feel like the Sejuani, I think maybe you can leave, but they're going for what looks to be Azir Vi in this situation. Now, an interesting one. Maybe they're hoping to take the Rek'Sai on 3, but then your 80 carries going to get banned away. You assume they're going to want to lock in Viper's pick on that 3rd point. So maybe T1 just end up going to Sejuani Rek'Sai themselves. And then the thing is, with Tom and Nautilus gone, I feel like there's less of a pressure just because you're pairing with the Senna this early.
No, I think if you leave the Vi up here as Hanwha, they can go Vi Ahri, they can go Vi Talia. And that has been so common for T1. We know that Carrier's pick isn't coming necessarily in this part of the draft just simply because he can play so many things and Senna is such a flexible champion. Yeah, you may have it in the Sejuani, in fact. Now, I kind of expected, rather than this quirky pick that Faker is on a 2-game loss streak right now, namely against Humble Life, rather than that, I thought we were going to see a strong pick that works well with this Sejuani, or something like the Rek'Sai, as you mentioned, for top blind for Zeus. That's kind of been the MO. It's taken away now here, so you have a pretty flexible and strong early game here as Hanwha Life now.
It's looking a little bit worrying for T1, I have to say. Even though, like, this is crazy, right? Because we're talking about a Senna Corki composition that, like, this kind of draft, especially in the hands of T1, has looked very successful. But against Humble Life Esports, in the microcosm of this matchup, it's looking worrying for T1.
We've seen the Senna Sejuani before, the banning with the Xin Zhao, which makes me think that, Xin Zhao Sejuani is a really strong pairing. I haven't really been sold, especially you have a Corki and a Senna. You don't really have anyone fantastic to stack it up, I mean, maybe you'll get some things on the top side. Obviously, having a top lane that can stack up well isn't that useful for Carrier.
I would love to see a Caitlyn ban here, too, from T1. I think that's one of the picks that's left here that Viper could play that could really give you a nice edge in this lane. Pairs with a lot of other supports and can just control that when you already have the pretty safe blind top Rek'Sai here. Again, it's not necessarily going to be that Sejuani here, but there's a pretty high chance that Carrier does, in fact, play that. You just want to shut down what Viper and Delight can run into this. So it'll be the Jinx, actually, instead. Another long-range champion. The Varus is still available as well.
I feel like they might just go Varus again in this situation. I was kind of thinking, okay, you've seen these Eddie carries banned away. Senna's been picked up. Maybe we'll get targeted more in the second rotation, but the only ban Jinx, I think, honestly, Hunter Life can be pretty happy. They're just going to be able to secure that once again. I'm kind of surprised. Didn't end up targeting that. T1 fearing other things, and now, we'll see whether the Sejuani does get locked into that support role. I don't rate it very highly, but again, it really depends what you're going to pick for Zeus. If you want to pair that Sejuani with someone in the top lane, fine, but like you're into the Rek'Sai, is it just going to be a TF battle at the end? But we've seen that lane be a bit rough.
Could be Aatrox here. Yeah. With the Sejuani and play Ornn bottom, play Sion bottom. Viego, definitely not what I saw coming in this one, and that is a tough pick to play out. How many junglers do we need? Okay, well, that Zac is going into the top lane. You have to imagine the Viego will be the jungle with the Sejuani support here. But this composition feels so fragile. It feels so brittle in how its win cons have
Real
to be
lagi
played out.
lagi
It
deh
scales
anjir ini.
incredibly well, and it does fight
Ya udah
decently
ada
early
tanker sih,
around
udah ada
package fights,
rektai
and
sih.
Senna's roaming.
Terus
But if it
oh
falls
Real
behind
lagi
it a
dong
little
bener
bit,
dong.
if it loses a team fight or two in those early skirmishes, it's just done. You know, it doesn't really have legs to stand on, especially the Viego aspect
Gue
of
gak
this
tahu soal
composition.
Zac ya.
This might be
Viego
things,
juga
one
gue
of
gak
the
tahu
picks we've
sebenarnya.
seen, obviously everyone thinks Sion when they think lane
Kalau
shots,
buat
but Zac
di
is also
season
been a really
sekarang.
powerful one. The dive potential with the passive early, very potent, and he is a very low econ top laner. So perhaps T1 looking to sort of
Tapi
mirror
sebenarnya
the
Zeus
shenanigans
gak
we saw in
terlalu
game 1. I feel like playing in a Rek'Sai is just
lumayan
very
bisa
unfun
carry ya.
situation. And I feel like
Ya,
Varus
meskipun
is going
gue
to
liat
have the
tanker ya
edge
kalau
over
nggak salah
Senna,
si
so maybe they look for an
Zac
angle
tuh.
where they can navigate those lanes using this Zac. We'll have to see, but T1's draft seems very new territory. I'm not really sold on it, whereas I feel like Home Life Esports, a lot of power in their picks and a lot of confidence with the players being on those picks.
I can see a few angles where T1 can leverage their extra range. They do have Faker, of course, has been a very consistent quality player, especially in lane in the early stages, can often build himself up to those two items that are kind of required. As you say, it feels a little bit like Home Life Esports are not in the experimental territory, but when T1 are experimenting, that feels like their bread and butter.
Yeah, it has often been. They have not just been experimenters,
Mau
really, but
dia
meta
aja
makers. It's so many of these incredible drafts we've seen from them that look silly in the outset, but end up being incredibly strong. I think this one definitely suits their playstyle. There's so much engage, there's so much skirmish power. The Corki, don't underestimate early team fights with this pick, with the package, with Senna's range. It's going to come online fairly early here in this type of draft. But if you mess it up even once, as we saw in the previous series between these two squads in playoffs, I'll run away with it.
Let's have to see how it goes. We jump onto the rift for game number 2.
하나생명 하나 둘셋
And the KSPO Dome erupts once again as T1 and Home Life Esports make their way out onto the rift. I do feel like we had about 4 games worth of game in game number 1, and we'll see who has the longevity to survive here. As Venom Zac to come on through. I'm more of a Legend Boo fan myself when it comes to the Zac skins, but this one is also pretty cool. And Zeus, he's no stranger to the Zac top. Of course, it is something that has been started to be played elsewhere more often, but Zeus was playing it before it was cool. He's now going to get knocked up before it was cool.
They both heal a lot.
Yeah,
They do.
Healing for healing. I think that's the takeaway.
One goes underground, the other one eats bits that fall off.
Interesting, we aren't seeing any attempts at a lane swap, any shenanigans coming out early. Especially, I always feel like something that's been talked about heavily is the fact that like there are players who have played a lot in the lane swap era, and there's also players who really haven't. But both these teams, I mean, I feel like FAKER's doing the lion's share of the experience there, but definitely will have that in the wheelhouse. But yeah, it's going to be standard heads-up lanes coming out level 1.
Yep. Carrier, of course, has played this Sejuani alongside the Senna once so far in the playoffs. He's been the only one to do so, but of course we know that he has an eclectic champion pool and one that kind of spans all of the champions in the game. And Biffo here towards the top side. Ignore the fact that they're taking damage, ladies and gentlemen.
It's going to go away.
As yes, it is something that they're just happy to do for the entirety of the game. Doran, you can see, eating up that Fury. We'll get another knock up here.
I'm not gonna lie,
landing on the blobs.
It's gonna feel nearly impossible to judge who's like winning the trades. No one.
I think it's very clearly one where you just keep an eye on what's on the ground for the Zac and what is the yellow bar for Doran. As I think Zeus is winning out on these slightly right now, but is of course just the first 2 levels here. And look at the win rate here for Zeka on Azir. It has been a pick that he's found great success with in best of 5s. Namely Worlds, where he did level up on it massively in 2022. A pick we've criticized him for quite heavily in the past, but I think is no longer really a weak point for this incredible mid player. Guma Senna, mentioned it earlier, it's 15-1 on it now and 5-1 versus the Varus. Doran?
Yeah, another knockup does come on through here. Okay, elastic swing from Doran. And underground once again, Zeus electing not to flash after him for first blood, and instead we'll just keep up that pressure.
Yeah, be careful, you flash after he gets the burrow, maybe heals underwater range. It would be a waste for Zeus. Finding pressure in this top lane matchup, you know, the healing from Rek'Sai really starts to take off later in the levels. At this point, some bad trades can really push things out of your favor. Doran will use the TP already to get back into lane.
Balik dulu gak sih Deus? Gonna grab a refillable, so more healing in the conversation now. It's not really anything else he can afford here as he's trading with this Zac. And I love the Zach here for T1 for two reasons. One being, of course, the long engage range for those skirmishes we talked about with Viego. With the early team fights is area.
Yeah, a bit of a crash down does come on through there. The chains do lock down Delight. We know that Peanut's in the area. The Ignite ticking down.
Kira mundur dulu guys, itu kira
Now
serem
making
banget.
their way out. Peanut actually deciding to get out of here, and Ona knows exactly what's going on. Ward goes down. Peanut, I believe, is going to spot that, as we can see right there. Another snare going to come on through as Gumayushi down pretty low on the mana, as Viper does find a piercing arrow on top of the center.
Kejebak kah?
Are going to come through, or at least one of them for Peanut here. Teleport back from Carrier.
Oh,
And
untung
now
Kira
Ona might have an
pakai
opportunity.
TP sih, jadi
They don't know.
No vision.
let's go.
There's the black hole.
Dapat nih,
Carrier
Viper.
able to try and get off to the side.
Viper,
Good
aduh,
crash
kabur.
down to
Let's
try
go.
and get him out of there, but there's
Viper dia mati.
the Frost. Will be
Nice.
taken down. Gumayushi gets the first block.
Good.
Read from Ona had complete information advantage over Peanut. Waited it out, and you know, Peanut obviously
kira
went away
siapa?
from the
Kira
situation,
Guma
like,
nice.
yeah, you guys got the wave crash, you're fine here. And Ona manages to get in. There's a lot expended to make that gank worth, but they'll definitely appreciate the payoff, especially as it's Guma who ends up getting a kill. Kills on a center when she ends up needing the extra gold, really valuable.
No, absolutely. This is exactly what T1 want out of a fight like
top
this.
lane
Peanut
is
isn't able to get
kayak
anything
gini.
crosswise here. Now, Doran with the push that he has is going to come over here and see owner of path bottom side, whether they could affect him here. Peanut's coming over as well. Huge opportunity.
Yeah, Peanut charging up that Vault Breaker as Ona gets into the mist. Doran going to come on over as well.
Okay, ada jauh
Looks to
santai.
tunnel in on top of the Viego. That's a lot invested for a Gromp, but they will be able to at least get the Gromp. As Gumayushi now comes on over, Carrier just 1v1 and Viper here towards the bottom side.
Viper
A
ajak
little bit
Viper
dangerous
gitu.
with the amount of minions that are stacked up on the Humble
Tapi emang
Esports side of the map.
bukan
Carrier
support ini.
understands that.
Yeah, so interestingly, we actually
Sama-sama
got
dia
Viper
aja,
going
sama-sama
lethal
gue.
tempo here, but he's got a tier in his
Super mantap nih ya.
going the lethality route, so maybe just wants
Menang
the
gold pula kan
extra
7.
sort of sustained damage when it
0,7
comes
main
to those
sih.
team fights, or even in lane. You know, if Carrier does go all in there and Viper stacks up the lethal tempo, is an easy way to end up losing that 1v1.
Yeah.
Interesting adaptation.
I think it's absolute adaptation for laning into the Sejuani here, because as you mentioned, the CC, it's CC versus extended damage once he gets out of that combo.
Delay.
Oh.
Careful. Yeah, does manage to get the shield as the crash down does come on in.
Zeus, jangan mati
Very
Zeus.
small.
Zeus.
Still able to get a decent knock up, but
Oh,
he's
no.
going to explode
Oh,
him.
no.
And now the Bloblets coming on forward. Doran, can you take them down in time? Is the question.
Sama.
Only
Nice.
gets a couple, and now Zeus makes his way
Oh,
back in, but
okay,
will
good.
not have that passive available for the next time.
That was the second thing I was going to mention before we had that skirmish bottom. The two great things about this Zac, great skirmish power, and also the passive allows T1 to make a lot of extended plays. They're
Please,
so famous for
nanggain,
looking like
Cok.
they've overextended on the map and then wrapping around so quickly. Zeus being able to have that passive allows you to make some plays like that, but if you lose it early like this, there's going to be a huge period of time
Udah
which
bikin
that's not a
anti-heal
tool
Zeus
that
yang
you're
next
going to have, and Doran going to feel so much more confident in this lane. Would have loved to get the kill as well, but the passive also feels like a massive win. As this is Carrier coming in here. The key part of this, which
Ini
is really
habis dari
shown
sini,
in this replay, is the
si
fact
Oner
that
bisa
owner
ngebawa lagi
stays
sih,
and they
karena
don't have vision. He's aware of
Bahasa
it,
udah
and they are
kemakan
able
kan.
to punish.
Yeah, and I mean, managing to just get the kill at the very end. The cleanse is good, the peel from Delight is solid. But when you're that overextended on a mobile carry, there's only so much you can do in that situation to try and get out. Does end up paying back in return. We do see the Bramble Vest come out from Zeus, and obviously really strong item for the Rek'Sai.
Oke, Zeus
Rek'Sai is kind of forced to
dia kan
auto
jauh
you
lumayan bisa ngelan bapak sih
in
ya.
trades and kind of guarantee the sort of healing reduction. But the thing with it is you can kind of just wait out the healing reduction before you burrow underground.
Oh, this is a little bit dangerous. The
Shit,
Faker is
shit,
going to
shit.
get engaged on immediately.
Okay, nice.
Flashes away the Glacial Prison.
No!
Going to go
Okay, nice.
wide.
Oner.
There's the lockdown on the
Gila, seru
Dragon
banget.
for T1. But Delight gets
Jangan
in
cowok.
there. They take down Faker.
Aduh, akhirnya
Two kills
cowok.
to start off the fight. Carrier is not long for the world either. And Humble Life Esports, they lose a Drake, but they'll take 3.
This is the main criticism I had with T1 in their previous series against Hanwha.
Dapat
They
kill
show up on
siapa?
these
Harus
objectives
dapat
before the
satu
comp
kill.
is online, before they really have any semblance of control. And
Shit,
yeah, Hanwha Life, it looks like
tough
potentially
pretty bad.
initially they're just going to look for a little bit of a rel steal because it's still, 14.6, so that's not removed from the game just yet. And you end up fighting into this Azir composition here. It's got such a tanky front line.
Gila, Azir
You
nih,
stay
Cok.
too long. Corki doesn't have package, doesn't have any agency in this fight, and you end up giving over a massive amount of gold.
It's so greedy because clearly they're like, okay, we can try to sneak a dragon in the situation, but Faker has
Dia udah
no
ngambil gini,
rockets, half HP.
tapi nggak bisa pulang
They
juga
get
sih, ada
caught,
Varus
this
di sana.
combo and the arrow to follow does so much damage. And then as soon as like Zeka slides in, the ult comes out, you know it's just in a really bad spot. Especially as this is a competition
Belum
with
jadi sih.
Diego. You want to be the ones having the
Masih early.
momentum in the fight. And I think for me, this is just greedy
Sebelum ada
from
damage-nya dia.
T1.
Absolutely.
Like, you'd love... 가보자.
안주야 너무 잘했다 우리들을.
That was awesome, Delight, is what Peanut said.
You'd love to get an early dragon on a Corky comp, but you're not forced into it. You can just wait for the package and have that big edge in the dragon fights. Instead, they opt to go for an early one and they pay so dearly for it.
And it's really reminiscent of a lot of the fights they lost against Hanwha in their matchup earlier on in the playoffs, where opted into fights, got Viper extended, or rather gave him a huge lead, accelerated him, and this moment here, Zeka comes up big with the light, and goal lead goes to Hanwha here. It's a small one, but these items, breaking points, we reach the mid game, are so critical. I don't think we're going to get a Chemtech soul twice, but I mean, Ox is sitting up here with us, so...
Yeah, we need you to focus.
I'll do my
best. As Ocean ticking down 3 minutes until that one is going to be on the Rift. Quite a few decent souls up and available as we walk back towards this bottom side. Information does go over to Hum Life as they do have that ward towards.
Dan FAKER pun dia di live game kan pasti. Jadi gak apa sih mereka kalah jauh kayak gini. Dan kalah juga gak terlalu dalam. Dapat naga juga.
But has since just equalized with FAKER. FAKER actually making his...
Oke, gak apa. Iklan tuh kayak gini gitu, sorry, Namik. Iklan tuh pasti lagi gawar, gak kayak tadi lagi war anjay. Anjir, apaan tadi? Oke, berarti gak ada kill sebenarnya.
Yeah, I felt like a little bit rough. Zeka could have committed the flash. I think he needed it, and I think they were just kind of... I think they wanted a bit more time for Zeka to get a bit closer, but then Peanut, obviously, if FAKER comes up and wants the push, he just has to go then. Unfortunately, unable to get it off.
Dapat fight gram, nice, dapat naga. Mereka bisa ngambil naga juga di next, udah big guard jungle atasnya.
FAKER is calculated, man. He knows the exact range. Look at that. We put the stats up as well.
Itu jungle camp atas.
Yeah.
Jungle camp atas ini punya Wano ya.
Top side. Oh, yeah, Doran in possibly a bit of trouble here as
dapat Ace. Gila, keras banget anjing. Saya cowok. Ulti udah keluar pula.
It's just crazy how hard it is to punish this champion.
Dua ulti cowok, 3 mah
masih guma. So he went to cue the wave and he hit Zeus, get in the Grievous wounds. It looked like he wasn't going to be able to survive as a result, and then he just flashed tunnels and he's suddenly, on the other side of your screen, and you're not going to be able to follow him up. So a nice attempt for T1, but this champion is just immovable.
I feel like such a Doran champion as well.
Really
because he soaks so much pressure.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I was going to say. Doran's mastery that he's already shown in this playoff so incredibly well, whether it's setting up for team fights, objective control, and surviving here when playing at weak side has been very effective. As FAKER survives, Doran survives. Go back to neutral here. 45 seconds before this dragon. See, Doran does have his teleport online. Ults for Zeka and Peanut coming back. Peanut nearly there. And T1 need to be a little bit more careful about how they want to approach this dragon fight, because 2 team fight losses in a row makes this game snowball away from you so quickly. Right now, they're in a pretty good spot with the setup, getting that early kill, scaling up nicely.
Dia udah mah keras.
Dia
bisa nge-heal juga. Dia bisa ngetunnel.
T1 with their first dragon of the series as well.
Gimana nge-killnya coba?
Any of the objectives on the bottom side of the map in game number 1. And now have
emang dia damage-nya gak ada gitu, damage kurang gitu, tapi secara durability itu dia Oke, ini mereka bisa jauh sih ini, kalau jauh buat tapi FAKER punya paket. Oke, nice, bisa nih mereka nge-cancel naganya.
Don't feel like they have too much power right now, but they have the packets, they are the setup. So unlike these will start the dragon, then back away, maybe hearing the packet sirens, I'm being a bit concerned.
Oh,
I mean, there's no vision here whatsoever for T1 in this brush. FAKER can't approach
no.
No.
Good. Dia bikin panik buat FAKER anjir.
Hanwha should just slow play this. They have a Varus who's rotating over. They don't have to hard engage unless it's onto the package list.
Santai.
He's got it on the
Pakainya pakai buat Varus aja.
Yeah, this is so dangerous.
Nice, dapat. Kabur. Udah. FAKER masuk, paketnya bagus. Nice. Cing Zeka, cowok. Gak apa, mereka cuma dua dong sama Oner anjay.
Drake on
dapat
top of
lighting, dapat
everything.
naga.
T1 pretty
It's okay, it's
happy
okay, it's okay.
that they're at least able to get the Drake.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you saw Peter trying to set up for the steal, but that wasn't
Good,
really
beda
the
jauh juga.
focus. The engage comes in, and
Good,
even
good,
with the
good.
package as a peel attempt,
Good threat,
it only
good
hits
threat.
the front line as a Honor Life Esports. They just kind of shake it off, and the follow-up
Zeus
is so
juga
good.
sekarang fat kan dia si As
taking
menang
out,
dan juga
faking
dapat
out.
rating banyak.
Yes, the fight goes in favor of Honor Life Esports, but Zeus gets a lot of gold, and they also, as you said, secured that second dragon into a Hextech Soul, so it's not all doom and gloom. But these fight setup coming out from Honor Life Esports definitely feels like it's in their favor.
It does feel like at least the gambit of committing to the Dragons will pay off, as Atlas mentioned, because it is a Hextech Soul, and if this had been Chemtech, you would feel horrible about this as a T1 fan, but you're still scaling, and you still have the opportunity to give some of these up and allow this core to come online later. So in the short term, yes, gold deficit here, team fight wins for Hanwha. In the long term, T1 feeling, I think, overall, pretty happy with this one. It's going to, of course, come down to how these next few team fights go as to whether we're going to feel like this is okay or not. But you watch this breakout again, it's similar to the last one. Set up here, very rickety here for T1. They secure the Dragon, but the engage comes through from Blight. Package alone isn't going to be enough, because guess what? Zeka's unaffected. He's got so much follow-up, and the engage from Delight once again just perfect.
Again, it's Rel and it's Vi. You're the one tank the package.
Oke, bukan Viper yang kill. Si Pai.
Are going to pick up
it's okay.
this Herald, but the mid-tier 1 for Hanwha looks pretty healthy, so you know, obviously the main goal getting the Herald is breaking that T1 down, T1 tower down.
Mereka bisa dapat
really
mid sebenarnya.
To do so, especially as anytime you set up to look for a siege on a tower, there's so much easy engage threat from Honor Life Esports that just has to make you second guess whether it's worth
Ayo
it.
kejar maling itu. Nah, tidak dikejar malingnya, Cok. Berhasil maling.
Well, takes the Hex Gate, get himself out of here, and the Hextech Rift is also going to, I think, move us towards a few more skirmishes as this mid-game progresses. Late game, another thing that we do have to talk about, T1 still with a lot of power there, but I think with the amount of lockdown that Hanwha Life Esports has, like you guys were mentioning earlier on, the Viego wanting to snowball these fights forward, Hanwha do have answers to that. So I think as this game goes on, there is still hope here for Hanwha Life Esports, even if they are going to head towards a late game against
setelah game ini kita istirahat dulu, guys.
It's the Azir that's 100% KP that I really focus on here, that's been the most pivotal pick in playoffs since being re-enabled. It's just been so impactful for all three of our remaining mid laners here in the LCK.
Semoga sempat ya, gua sholat
did
terus
not
langsung
go
di next
for grasp. He
stream.
wants the damage. He's got Halo Blades here, and with the Nashers too, this turret's not long for this world. Neither is Zeus necessarily.
Oke, selamat, nice.
Doesn't quite find the stretch
Bawah itu.
Armstrong. And they are going to play it safe. As now FAKER
FAKER jangan mati, oke. Tepat Pai.
just a little bit.
And he just already looks so tanky at this point.
Oke, ini bisa komit mereka, bisa dapat turret juga. Anjing, kacau, Cok. Wah, nice Zeus. Nice Zeus. Zeus. Dikit lagi. Aduh. Zekanya dikit lagi, Cok.
Up his own turret as well as they take down the
Gak apa-apa, mereka dapat dua turret, bisa dua turret. Durannya mati dong. Durannya mati dong.
Is going to charge into that inner turret as well. Doran actually having the gusto to take down Shelly himself.
It's so rare that Champion can just walk up in front of three people, walk behind the Herald, and just auto the eye. But Rek'Sai is just that champ, and you know T1 they managed to get an okay use of the Herald, but realistically, half of being that top tier 2
4
lower value than lowering the health of the mid tier 1, so I feel like the payoff is really there. It's a minute till that Dragon though, and that's going to be a TP coming in.
Yeah, TP from Zeka here moves towards his top side. Is now FAKER having to deal with it.
Fly.
Going to come through.
Ini Peanut, Cok.
Peanut turns up. That is going to be just the last stand. Auto and Zeka just collects it.
I mean, with Halo Blades here, the early Nashers, 3 kills to his name now. I mean, he's pushing towards the Leandres here. He already has his haunting guys online. Blasting Wands picked up. He's just so accelerated in this game, and yeah, sure, you win one fight, you lose the Dragon, not feeling too terrible about that, you lose the second one, but Hanwha Life, just keep feeding this
kita punya tabungan, kita punya naga, kita punya core kill, late game, kita punya Sena.
The ultimate is timed really well here, but they focus down the turret, so his passive isn't going to save the day.
Yang penting survive aja T1, karena nggak terlalu banyak mati-mati lagi.
Turret guarantees the kill here, and then coming on to FAKER without ultimate here, he's just so ahead, and Peanuts are able to wrap around. Doran's up here as well. It's just a mistake by FAKER, not respecting how quickly you can rotate on this map with the Hextech Rift. He's shut down, and I mean, we're moving into this next Dragon. It's going to be Hanwha's first Hextech of the game. If they can secure it, it looks very likely right now. Package spawn timer here, great for FAKER.
Well, they're very late to show up in the
Kejauhan
fight.
sih ini.
Yeah, very late, and also, you know, FAKER doesn't have that mana even quite stacked
Raksanya di
up
bawah
yet.
kan.
Again,
This flank angle pretty big from Zeus, like you were talking about. Carrier making his way in. The Drake already secured. Hanwha's
Zeus
first.
mana Zeus? Let's go Zeus.
There is the elastic.
Asiknya. Nice, anjir mati. Aduh, Viper. Faker mati anjing. Vipernya cowok. Oke, delete mati. Nice. Nice Zeus ganggu Vipernya, nice. Piratnya bisa mati. Anjir, piratnya kelong banget tapi. Oke, piratnya mati. Viper udah mati. Fix itu. Anjir, punya first dia bangke. Kejar. Mati udah mati. Udah kejebak. Oke, good. Dapat lagi Doran.
It's just tank diff. Both of these tanks, all three of these tanks rather, running rampant in these fights.
Yeah,
the initial kill onto Zeka is so huge, you know, with that Leandri's, with that Naxxas would be someone who could cut through all these bulky members.
I'm pretty sure actually built the Leandri's after he died as well, so I don't think he had it.
Didn't have it there, yeah. They managed to get on top of him.
Zeusnya bagus ini ngalang-ngalangin si Vipernya.
And then immediately
Itu kalau Vipernya masuk
now
ngasih
to get
free
reset
hit
to
itu,
this fight,
wah
getting
udah tuh.
value out of the Viego.
Mungkin diganggu sama Zeus tuh.
He's trying to do so much, but realistically,
Dan itu Peanut gila keras banget cok. Dia udah mengpet juga kan dia lumayan ya.
Guma's additional heals coming through in the fight, the Dawning Shadow coming through as well. He's not
Zeus bagus
caught
sih,
by Delight's
lumayan zaknya
ultimate.
cok.
He actually ends up doing so much in this fight, not only in terms of damage, and the Senna is
Ini
really
harusnya Viper
starting to
balik.
be a strong threat here, but heals his teammates up as well, and that sustain
Mungkin
is
dia
just
mau
something that
ngeliat
Viper
Guma Yusi
unfortunately
lagi
cannot
sekarat
break
gitu, mau
through.
di-kill.
He's gone for lethality, he wants to hit those squishy targets, but as
Jadi
you
dia
mentioned, without
punya
the
lebih
sustained
banyak
damage from
bodyguard.
that Azir,
Zeus
they
adalah
just
kunci
cannot
ya dia.
get it done.
Pasti
Good
ya.
plays there from Guma.
Let's go Zeus
Senna
man.
3-0-2 now.
Selalu
Kind of
bagus ini
matching
anjay.
in terms of the impact that Zeka has had in these team fights now in that last one. And T1 back on the board here. They failed to secure the Drake though, which is huge for Hanwha Life. Having that Hextech soul point above your head would feel terrible in the next 3 minutes.
Yeah, definitely could have been worse if they weren't able to secure that one, but I think the takeaway is, if you go on lethality virus, even if you take lethal tempo, it's not going to suddenly turn you into the on-hit build.
No.
And you can see Zeus just really surviving such an insane amount of time during that fight. And the key thing is Zeka. Zeka needs to survive, needs to be that DPS threat, needs to be that sustained damage for the team. As you said, Leandri is now finished, so we'll have that cut-through ability, but FAKER's now got that mana immune stacked up, and it's going to start building the items where Corki really starts to take off. I feel like T1 have been managing so far, but once Corki gets that power, once Guma starts getting that range, that's when they become a real threat to these fights, because as much as the tanks are kind of just running rampant, when Corki and Senna are able to lay down huge damage on the back of that, it's going to be very problematic for Life Esports.
You have to say as well that it was Gumayusi in the last game that I think was playing the most consistently here for T1. Once again, 3-0-2 on this Senna. And we know the carry potential of this champion, especially if she gets accelerated.
Dia udah bikin Sunfire Aegis, udah bikin apa sih satu lagi? Yang heal banyak juga tuh. Yang katanya heal.
And there's a Glacial Prison, that's going to connect onto Viper, who does cleanse it.
Okay, nice. Dapat cleanse, worth it.
Taking a lot of damage here from these Leandri's auto attacks from Zeka.
Yeah, Zeka also flashing there, so that's another tool gone here for Hanwha. But FAKER is just so behind in terms of his itemization, he does not match the poke of Zeka. Ironically enough,
Anjir! Berset, cok! Nice, dapat delay. Let's go! Zeus! Gak apa? Anjir, di flash dia. Nice, Trakteer! Viper udah dapat itu fix. Fix dapat itu fix. Let's go, Dorannya. Doran gak apa-apa saja. Susah. Let's go! Oke, dapat Baron nih pasti, udah free Baron.
Making a play onto carry onto super tanky farm Sejuani.
Bagus tadi di flashin cuk. Sampai depannya masih on-air.
Zeka without flash, Viper without cleanse, and they just really weren't able to do anything on the back of that.
It's not really a poke war that T1 is winning this with FAKER's Corki. Just follow up damage from this side. Obviously the back on the last fight.
Please jangan ada yang nge-throw, please. Gamcel tentu kumat lihat gue dapat Baron juga aja. Gamcel kalinya. Untung karyanya tank kali ini dia bisa buka map dan kalau karya yang mati kan gak apa-apa gitu kan.
blow up here of Sejuani is successful. Everything else is just super disjointed. The very split, as you mentioned, some of those summoners down. It's really easy for this Viego comp to say thank you very much for the free in-game. You guys overextend one of our tankiest members.
And beautifully played here by owners. Okay, how much? This time, Viper not in range of the Zakas.
FAKER masih belakang anjay. Nunggu paket.
Is up and available. Hama still trying to fight tooth and nail for this.
Dapat gak sih paketnya?
Teleports for this. They're actually they have the pack available. You see Doran looking for a flank angle. FAKER's just taking mid tier 1. They're pressured on both angles here. Life Esports going to try and take the dragon before they can.
Well, let's see whether they can actually get some sort of steal. As FAKER still in that mid lane, Doran has moved back to try and contest. The dragon is going to equalize. T1 will start it off once again. And Zeus does take a head over. That's a teleport in from Doran. Just gets into the pit. Of course, he can do this because the Rek'Sai, she is so incredibly tanky. And just now, going to be burrowed around, moving in.
Nice! Aduh, gak dapet. Gak apa. Dapet kill Doran, gak apa. Gak dapet naganya, tidak. T1 dapat turret juga tadi, sempat.
They won't be able to pick up the Drake. The light's hovering around the edge of the Drake, and Hanwha Life, it looked like it was very clear they did not want to take that fight into FAKER's package. They were just looking for secure the Drake and evacuate, and the second the smite goes Peanut's way, they bail out
Doran mati ini mungkin bisa dapat.
Call from Hanwha Life, but at least they're able to attack dragons here. Problem is that Baron is still up, and T1 are going to get more than just that pick on the Doran. Hanwha Life losing a lot of control over this game very quickly as Corki's starting to come online, and if FAKER starts actually being a poke threat in these fights with how Hanwha is actually looking to roll and engage every single skirmish we see, this game can change. The game state already very heavily favoring T1 can change faster.
No. He actually gets out of there. My goodness, that was almost the most ridiculous read. Instead, ships in the night.
No, I thought Pina was going to go for it because I feel like all these pick attempts, the fierce almost on the Sejuani, not a good target. Then the Zac, even worse.
Okay.
I thought you finally found someone you can kill, but not confident the damage is there with Pina by himself, so ends up backing away.
Ada Malignance, ada mau,
fading out, but still just have the pressure on the map here. And
sebenarnya mau gak kalau dia
buat
ngelawan ke aja.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage. FAKER throwing out that fast bomb and some rockets. Really going to do a lot of work. 3 items now done.
Juga sedih gak ada Malignance di Valkyrie Panjai.
Every one of these rockets that Hanwha avoids, they're going to feel very good about as theirs.
Nice. Aduh, gak kena Viper.
On to Delight, but he's not exactly the primary target. T1 not going to follow up on that one. 50% of the health bar here on FAKER as well. Just going to play it safe. I think game 1 is really on the minds of both of these teams right now.
Yeah, you could really feel the pressure that Hanwha are under here as the Baron gives so much additional gold over to T1. To 6,000 gold lead now. Obviously, they can't see those numbers, but they know they've lost control of the map. They know they're behind in terms of the advantages they had early. Zeka was so huge, now is getting outplayed by the Corki in these team fights. The poke. But when it lands, you can feel the damage that FAKER is starting to come with. And as you mentioned, Oxum, as we've been talking about, the engages from Hanwha have been very lackluster onto the wrong targets. They're forgetting that Sejuani is incredibly tanky. And also the engages onto the Zac, who has an ultimate, has a passive, it makes it very difficult to blow him up. Just doesn't feel ideal here. And Hanwha not playing the slow poke game with Viper either. And I think that T1 have just had so many great opportunities to re-engage and win those fights. And when they have Baron, they're just like, yeah, come at me, bro. And as a result, we're looking at 2.5 minutes until this next dragon spawns. But T1, they have
T1 semua ada buntinya nih. Ini kalau diapain sama si Paras tadi bisa balik nih.
The dragons for Hanwha really just aren't doing much. It's just the fact they've denied T1 is obviously very important to keep their hopes alive in the game. If you give Hextech Soul over to Corki center, the game is just over. But T1 are fine with this game going later. FAKER's approaching level 16 where you get a massive spike on the Corki rockets. Guma is stacking up those souls, has the rapid fire cannon as well. So it's not getting easier for Life Esports. Yes, they bought time by getting those 2 dragons, but time isn't necessarily going to help them.
I'll just have to see how Hanwha's going to be able to mitigate this one. 1.5 minutes, so not exactly coming up anytime soon on this dragon. In fact, first on the chopping block will be the Baron. See who's going to be able to retain control. Looks like T1 for now. And Hanwha Life Esports just trying to get as much money as they can to be able to stand toe-to-toe. I think their composition can still team fight at this stage.
Ini Baron sama Naga pun hampir bersamaan lagi soalnya.
And with the fact that they are still already like down in gold.
Menurut gue sih usahain Naga dulu sih.
It is so dangerous.
If we turn back the clock, if we turn back time and think about game 1, there were 2 miracles given, right? Owner's first death, the attempted kill on the Viper that was shut down by Zeka's re-engage there. Owner was picked twice. T1 made some big mistakes for the lead they had. I think if they do not make said mistakes in this game, they're on a great pace to finish this one out. Obviously, Owner is going to be not the same type of engaged champ this game around as he was in the last one. Is going to be more of a facilitator follow-up, and then, of course, it's going to get those resets to kind of carry the team fight. T1, I really think it's going to take a big mistake or a miracle play from Peanut, Zeka, or maybe a Doran play to win this one, as Guma still has flash.
No. Nice.
Attempt on Gumushi, but he just flashes away. Slinks into the mid as well. And Guma is not going to be killed that easily. They do manage to get the flash. That is definitely important, but now the re-engage comes through Doran. He manages to grab it out of thin air.
Jangan kenapa ke Doran sih? Doran terlalu keras. Oh ini udah habis resource ini T1 sebelum Baron yang lepas Baron sih. Lepas Baron ambil Naga.
But Life Esports trying to pin some sums. Don't think they got enough that I really favor them in this next fight.
Dragon's up, but they can just try to burn Baron here. I mean, they have this Zeka damage that's pretty insane on this Azir.
It is very true. If Viper and Zeka can get on top of this Baron, it is going to be a lot of work. But Faker goes back, collects himself the package, and look at this, immediately, Hanwha Life Esports scatter.
Yeah, it's just too dangerous. If you end up in the Baron pit against the package, it's just game over. And T1 actually potentially looking towards themselves. The expectation was they would go for the Dragon.
Anjir, di start sama T1.
On the purple worm, Hanwha Life Esports masih ada ward itu.
Oke. Kita lihat aja semoga menang. Guma no flash, kira no ulti. Oke, nice Peanut ya. Nice, udah. Bisa ini Peanutnya mau masuk. Gak apa, di cancel juga apa. Oke, dapat flash Peanut. Dorannya dapat. Zeus nice. Oke. Aman. Tank mereka udah kurang sekarang. Oke, dapat flash dari itu juga nice. Flash harus dapat juga. Dapat juga flash-nya. Oke, udah free nih. Cip, nikat juga nih. Manwa. Nikat juga nih orang. Nikat juga anjay. Faker mati anjay. Gak apa. Gila Viper anjir. No. Udah playing tadi. Come on. Oke, nice. Udah cukup. Ini kejar.
What a scrappy series of events. I feel like Doran really let Hanwha Life Esports down there, getting caught out, trying to find an engage angle when no one was in a position to follow up.
Iya, Peanutnya mesti lama ini ya, pasti dapat naganya. Kecuali kalau Azirnya benar-benar komit, wah ada. Ini apa ada Zeus. Sana ada make-nya. Masih bisa nge-kill depannya Cok, pakai Q-nya. Faker.
As of a lot of Baron time is also being wasted here. I love that we see Karya with TP since he is playing TP with the Sejuani lane or with the Senna lane. He actually is going to be able to push this top lane out and be a bit of a side lane threat here. Put a clock on Hanwha Life, and that Baron buff will slowly but surely push
tapi udah jauh banget, udah dijauhin sama si Zeus. Dapat ini udah dapat naganya.
And this is just a chain of events, a domino effect of what happened with Hanwha Life trying to stop that Baron, failing unfortunately miserably, and then doubling down on it, Zeka going for the TP play, pushed away, and everything's coming up T1 now.
Game 2. Lama gak ada yang ngetrawaya.
So much before the Dragon was. They're gonna have package and be able to, we often see the Corki like pick it up last second.
T1 will have ample
time to set up for this soul fight. Now, Hanwha Life Esports are trying to attack Karya.
Oke, mereka dapat tower bawah gak apa? Dapat satu doang sama Karya. Wah gila, Karya. Oke, gak apa. Itu banyak yang diinvest. Mereka tower bawahnya dapat. Gak ada ulti, Rek'Sai-nya. P-nya gak ada ulti juga. Next, let's go. Oke, mundur dulu, santai. Under ada syarat.
that was worth it, Life. Absolutely not.
Oke.
And I think
Good man.
a little bit more
Tadi ulti-nya kepake buat carry-nya, nice. Yang matinya carry-nya juga kan.
You end up losing inhibitor for
Next-nya
this.
juga ngelain
You
ulti.
get the kill on the support Sejuani, and that's all you get. Great ultimate there.
Bisa,
from
bisa,
Boomer,
ya,
guarantee
game 2
they get
T1.
that one Nexus turret. And this game is just off the rails here for Hanwha. Their agency is so low.
Gumanya
When they're trying to make it a
409
play off
cuy.
the Sejuani, Carry just looks
Fakernya
like
udah
it's
4
according to
item.
plan. This is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be that sideline threat. He still has that teleport, mind you. Now,
Fakernya punya TP kan.
I really want to say.
Tapi gak ada objektif juga sih.
Because I feel like as soon as we talk about who is clearly favored in a game, then it's just the other team that wins.
I'll do it. It's definitely T1 favorite right now.
Oh god.
Really?
Okay.
Wow. T1 coy sekarang yang menang.
Blatant Hanwha Life Esports bias there. But I think you might be right.
Apa ini sih Deus?
T1 do have a clear
Kebetulan
advantage.
Yeah,
Because it is 9,000 gold the lead.
it's pretty big.
We ran into that problem in the last game as well.
Okay.
I think it's easy to focus on the carries as well.
Udah gak ada buff Baron sih.
4 full items. He is. I think he's hit
Baron naik, tarik.
at this point.
Aduh, throw keras darahnya cok.
We normally talk about the Rek'Sai being hard
Dia
to
bisa
kill. Rek'Sai
ngetanam
does
juga
scale as well as
sebenarnya.
attack.
And I think that there's just not a whole
Nggak
lot
akan
of
dapat,
agency
nggak
here for
dapat.
Hanwha Life. And like I mentioned before, Owner's not going to overextend and try to kill Viper. He doesn't have to. The
Nen
goal
kill
difference
Peanut
is
nih.
basically the same as what T1 had
Nen
last
kill
time.
Peanut
But the
ya sih.
map control that they have is way more oppressive.
Ada scare belum, nice. Vision. Oke, gak dipukul. Nice. Udah mati Peanut. Aduh, objektifnya masih lama anjay. Oke, nice. Terus Peanut.
There is now Owner turning into the vine, looking to try and get a little bit of a re-engage. I think Peanut trying to buy some time.
Oke, si Owner jadi dapat agak gold main.
Feels like a little bit like he was throwing away his life there. Yeah, I mean he could have maybe tried to set up for a sandwich, but
Wah, gila Karya.
Kita
juga ya. Wah, anjir. Demet di sebelah cok, jilatnya cok. Sekali di Q sama si Karya. The hell, man. Wah, mati dapat akhirnya. Let's go. Anjir mati, udah kunci mati. Oke, nice. N. Let's go. Let's go. Yo. T1. Oke, nice. Wah, akhirnya cok. Oke, nafas gue normal lagi sekarang cok. Dia terlalu panik tadi. Karena GG.
Flaunting his immortality in front of them, and it feels
Yeah,
like once the
yeah.
game started to fall out of the control. Yes, they got some good early skirmishes, but as soon as that team fight came in when they killed Zeka, the game felt
Asal jam
more
berapa ya?
and more painful on Viper.
Gue cek
The
azan asar dulu jam berapa ya guys ya.
nothing.
And I think that Hanwha really
Asar
didn't play to their weak
Bandung.
cons around a lot of these objective fights. Sure, you win the 2 fights
59.
on Dragon, T1 get a 2 Drake lead.
Oke,
but you
nanti
have
gue
a pretty
stream
nice
lagi ya guys ya.
advantage. Zeka was massively ahead, but they just
Game apa ini bang? Ini game League of Legends cuy. Baik guys, makasih udah mampir guys ya. Ini aku pamit dulu, nanti kita stream lagi ya. Ini aku sholat dulu bentar. Nanti gue langsung siapin buat ini. Ini masih seru guys, sumpah. Ini udah satu sama. League of Legends bang, iya ini League of Legends. Ini game yang lumayan terkenal ya di dunia ya. Kalau di Indonesia emang agak kurang karena pasarnya Mobile Legends ke Indonesia. Cuma kalau di luar negeri bagus banget. Ternyata game. Ya guys, sampai sini dulu. Seru banget. Nanti kita lanjutin next game bagus ya. Gua mau sholat dulu sebentar, nanti kita balik lagi. Seru ini. Nanti kita lihat di next game bareng-bareng bagus, oke? Buat sekarang kita sampai sini dulu. Sampai video guys, oke? Gua bakal lanjutin sekitar azan asar, gua sholat, gua kita lihat lagi, oke? Tuh, sampai sini video guys, oke? Klik like kalau ke bagian kalinya, kita ketemu lagi di episode selanjutnya. XXO, bye bye. Gua seru banget, T1 menang cuy. 2 game lagi buat T1, let's go.